The old Honda Civic made a familiar crunch on the gravel driveway of my family's estate. Through the windshield, I could see my cousin's luxury cars lined up like shiny trophies. Mercedes, BMW, Audi, each one a statement of what they thought success looked like. I parked at the far end, away from their precious vehicles, not because I was ashamed of my 15-year-old car, but because I knew what was coming. The jokes, the snide remarks, the not-so-subtle digs about how the brilliant Alexandra Morgan had fallen so far from grace. If they only knew. I checked my phone one last time before heading in. My investment app glowed with numbers that would make their heads spin, but I closed it quickly. Tonight wasn't about showing my hand. Not yet. Tonight was about watching them dig their own graves with their assumptions. The front door opened before I could knock. Alex. My mother's voice carried that familiar strain of disappointment. You're late. And, oh, you're still driving that thing. I kissed her cheek. Happy birthday to Dad, Mom. Inside, the mansion echoed with forced laughter and clicking heels. The success parade was in full swing. My cousin Marcus, showing off his new Rolex. Cousin Victoria, bragging about her recent promotion to junior partner. Uncle Philip, loudly discussing his latest real estate venture. Alexandra, my father's booming voice cut through the chatter, finally decided to join us. I turned to face him, surrounded by his usual court of admirers. At 65, Thomas Morgan still commanded attention, his silver hair and tailored suit projecting the image of old money and power. Happy birthday, Dad. I offered him the small wrapped package I'd brought. He weighed it in his hand, frowning slightly. Let me guess, another book? Open it and see. Before he could, my cousin Derek cut in. Probably all she can afford on a teacher's salary. Oh wait, you're not even teaching anymore, are you, Alex? The room rippled with poorly concealed snickers. They all thought I'd failed after leaving my teaching position at the private academy last year. None of them had bothered to ask what I was really doing. No, I said simply. I'm not. Then what are you doing? Victoria chimed in, wine glass dangling from her manicured fingers. Besides driving that embarrassing car? I smiled. Investment management. Derek laughed out loud. Right, because someone's really going to trust their money to a failed teacher who can't even afford a new car. My father unwrapped his gift, a first edition of his favorite classic novel, and set it aside without comment. Alexandra, perhaps it's time to be realistic. Your Uncle Philip could use someone in his office. Basic admin work, but it's a start. Thanks. I cut him off. But I'm doing fine. Fine, Marcus snorted. Is that what you call living in that tiny apartment? Driving a car older than Victoria's designer handbag? I took a sip of water, letting their assumptions wash over me. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. Probably another alert about one of my investments hitting its target. I had 37 companies in my portfolio now. Most of them quietly acquired through the private equity firm I'd built from scratch after leaving teaching. At least she showed up, my mother said. Ever the diplomat. Now, shall we move to the dining room? Dinner was exactly what I expected. Crystal glasses filled with $100 wine. Conversations about vacation homes and country club memberships. Every few minutes, someone would glance at me with pity or contempt, depending on their level of intoxication. Then came the moment that changed everything. A toast. Uncle Philip stood, raising his glass. To success and those who achieve it. He looked directly at me. And to those who, well, we can all be winners, Can we? Something in me snapped, not with anger, but with clarity. I'd stayed quiet for years, watching them measure success in cars and clothes and summer homes. Watching them dismiss me because I chose to live simply, to build quietly, to grow my wealth away from their shallow definitions of power. I pulled out my phone, opened my portfolio app, and cleared my throat. You're right, Uncle Philip. We can't all be winners. I stood up holding up my phone. Would someone like to calculate the combined net worth of everyone at this table, including the vacation homes, the cars, the investment properties? Derek, always quick to show off, pulled out his phone. Easy. Let's see. He started adding numbers. Other family members calling out their assets. Done, he announced proudly. Roughly 47 million, give or take a few $100,000. I nodded, then turned my phone screen toward them. That's impressive. Now, would anyone like to guess what the failed teacher is worth? The room went silent as the number registered, 9 digits, before taxes. That's impossible, Marcus stammered. Is it? I scrolled through my portfolio, watching their faces pale. Shall we go through it? The tech startups I've acquired, the real estate holdings, the private equity deals. My father's hands gripped his chair. Alexandra, what are you saying? I'm saying, I met his eyes steadily, that while you were all laughing at my Honda and my tiny apartment, I was building an empire. One that's worth more than this entire family's assets combined. Victoria's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the imported marble floor. But how? Uncle Philip's voice had lost its smug edge. I smiled, thinking of all the nights I'd worked while they partied, all the deals I'd closed while they bought new cars, all the wealth I'd built while they were busy showing off their surface-level success. I learned early, I said, putting my phone away, that true wealth doesn't need to be displayed. It needs to be multiplied. The silence that followed was deafening. And I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The silence didn't last long. In my experience, people with fragile egos never stay quiet for long. Prove it, Derek demanded, his face flushed. Anyone can show numbers on a phone screen. I reached for my briefcase. Not designer, just well-made leather that would last decades. Funny you should ask. I brought something for after dinner, but now seems like a good time. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were bank statements, property deeds, company ownership documents, hard proof of everything I'd built while they were busy judging my lifestyle choices. Marcus grabbed the folder first, his hands shaking slightly as he flipped through the pages. This is real, I finished for him. Every page, every number, every acquisition. Victoria leaned over his shoulder, her perfect makeup unable to hide her growing pallor. Morgan Global Ventures. That's you? I nodded, among others. The name clearly meant something to her. It should. My company had recently acquired the private equity firm where she'd been desperately trying to make partner. She just hadn't connected the dots yet. But you were teaching, my mother whispered. All those years. I was teaching, I agreed, and learning, and investing. Did you know you can learn a lot about business potential by teaching the children of CEOs and tech founders? I smiled. They talk about their parents' companies, their innovations, their blind spots. My father hadn't moved, hadn't touched the documents. He just stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. Why keep it secret? He finally asked. Why drive that car? Live in that apartment? Because I leaned back in my chair. Success isn't about showing off. It's about building something sustainable, something real. Uncle Philip scoffed, trying to regain his composure. Real? You've been deceiving your family for years. No, I corrected him. I've been working while you've been posturing. There's a difference. I pulled out another document. This one made several people at the table gasp. For example, I continued, did you know that 3 months ago, when your development company was quietly looking for investors to avoid bankruptcy, Uncle Philip, I was the one who bought your debt? His face went from red to white in seconds. That's not? You couldn't. Through a subsidiary, of course, I added. I didn't want the Morgan name attached until the right moment, which apparently is now. The room erupted. Victoria started crying, probably realizing her career was now in my hands. Marcus was frantically Googling my companies on his phone. Derek just sat there, his expensive watch suddenly looking very cheap. My mother touched my father's arm. Thomas. But he held up his hand, silencing her. His eyes never left my face. How long? He asked. How long have you been planning this? Planning? I shook my head. Dad, I wasn't planning anything except building something meaningful. You're the ones who turned it into a competition, who measured success by what you could show off. I stood up, gathering my things. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have an early meeting tomorrow. Acquiring companies takes time, you know. Wait, Victoria suddenly spoke up. The firm, my firm, are you going to fire you? I finished her thought. No, Victoria. Unlike some people in this room, I don't measure my worth by how many others I can push down. I paused, but I will be watching. Merit matters in my companies, not family names. As I turned to leave, my father's voice stopped me. The book, he said quietly. The first edition. How much did it really cost? I turned back. More than your house, Dad. I bought it because I remembered you reading it to me when I was little, before success became more important than stories. For the first time in years, I saw something crack in his perfect facade. The Honda, he said. Why keep driving it? Because it works, I replied simply. And because every time you all laughed at it, every time you judged me for it, you showed me exactly who you were. It was the best market research I could have asked for. I walked to the door, then stopped one last time. Oh, and Uncle Philip, about your development company. The board meeting is on Monday. I suggest you prepare for some changes. The drive home in my trusty Honda was peaceful. As I pulled into my apartment's parking lot. Yes, I still lived in the modest apartment, despite being able to buy the entire building. My phone buzzed with messages. Family members suddenly wanting to catch up. Cousins asking about job opportunities. My mother begging me to come back and explain everything. I ignored them all, because tomorrow wasn't about family drama. Tomorrow was about the 3 company acquisitions I had planned, the new tech startup I was funding, and the educational foundation I was launching, the one that would help other failures like me build their own empires. Let them stew in their shock. Let them realize that while they were buying status symbols, I was buying actual symbols of success, companies, innovations, opportunities. They thought tonight was the big reveal. They had no idea what was coming next. The morning after my father's birthday dinner, I sat in my office on the top floor of an unmarked building in downtown Manhattan. No company logo on the door. No flashy signage. Just quiet power. the way I liked it. My assistant, Sarah, walked in with my morning coffee. Unlike my family's pretentious tastes, I preferred simple dark roast in a plain ceramic mug. "Your father is in the lobby," she said, not bothering to hide her surprise. "He's been there since we opened." I checked my watch. 7:30 a.m. How long? Security says he arrived at 6. I smiled slightly. Thomas Morgan, waiting for anyone, let alone for an hour and a half. That was new. "Send him up in 10 minutes, I said, turning to my computer to finish what I was doing. When he walked in, he looked different. The perfect suit was still there, but something had changed. The aristocratic posture was gone, replaced by something almost humble. "Alexandra." He stood awkwardly, like he didn't know whether to sit or stay standing. "This is quite an office." I gestured to a chair. "What can I do for you, Dad?" He sat, looking around at the minimalist decor. No awards on the walls, no fancy artwork, just clean lines and clear purpose. "Your mother is. We're all." He struggled with the words. "Yesterday was quite a shock." I imagine it was. He pulled out his phone, handed it to me. On the screen was an article from this morning's Wall Street Journal. Morgan Global Ventures acquires tech giant for $2.1 billion. "Ah," I said. "That wasn't supposed to be announced until market open." "The Morgan in the company name," he said quietly. "That's really you?" "Yes. Why didn't you ever tell us?" "Tell me?" I leaned back in my chair, studying him. "Would you have listened? Really listened? Or would you have tried to take control, like you did with everything else?" He flinched. "I only wanted the best for me," I finished. "No, Dad. You wanted what looked best to others. There's a difference." Silence fell between us. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city was coming alive, unaware of the drama playing out in this quiet office. "Your uncle, Philip, is worried," he finally said. "He should be." I pulled up a file on my computer, turned the screen so he could see. His development company has been mismanaged for years. The books are a mess. The projects are behind schedule. And the investors. I paused. "Well, let's just say, I'm not the only one who's noticed." "You're going to take it from him?" "No," I said firmly. "I'm going to fix it. Whether he stays or goes depends entirely on him. Like I said last night, merit matters." My father was quiet for a long moment. Then the Honda. I actually laughed. "Still stuck on that, aren't you? Tell me, Dad, what's worth more, a car that gets me where I need to go, or the 3 tech startups I bought instead of wasting money on a status symbol?" He had no answer for that. My phone buzzed. The market was opening. Time to watch my latest acquisition's stock price respond to the news. "I have work to do," I said, standing. "Was there anything else?" He stood too, straightening his tie. "A nervous habit I remember from childhood. Your mother wants to have dinner. The whole family. To apologize, I suppose." I shook my head. "I'm not interested in apologies, Dad. I'm interested in understanding. Do they understand now that success isn't about what you show, but what you build? Do they understand that their mockery, their judgment, their constant competition for status, that it all means nothing in the real world of business?" "I don't know," he admitted, "but I'm starting to." As if on cue, my phone lit up with a notification. The stock price of my new acquisition was soaring. Another quiet victory. "I'll think about dinner," I said finally. "But first, I have a company to run. Actually, several companies. After he left, Sarah came in with an update. The board of Philip's company is requesting an emergency meeting. Victoria left 3 messages about her position at the firm, and your mother sent flowers. I smiled. The flowers? I had them sent to the children's hospital, as per your standing instructions. Good. I turned back to my work. And Sarah? If any more family members show up. I know, she nodded. They need an appointment, just like everyone else. The next few weeks were interesting. My cousins suddenly discovered humility. Uncle Philip agreed to step down and let professional management take over his company. Victoria actually started doing her job instead of relying on her name. And my father, well, he did something I never expected. He sold his Bentley and bought a Toyota. When I asked him why, he said something that actually made me proud. Because I finally realized that what you drive doesn't matter nearly as much as where you're going. 6 months later, I hosted a family dinner. Not at a fancy restaurant, but at my still modest apartment. They came, all of them, dressed more simply than I'd ever seen them. Over simple homemade pasta. Yes, I cook. My mother finally asked the question I'd been waiting for. How did you do it, Alexandra? Really? I looked around at their faces, no longer smug, no longer judging, just genuinely curious. I watched. I said. I learned. I stayed quiet and built something real while you were all busy building appearances. I took a sip of wine, not $100 bottles, just good wine that I actually enjoyed. And most importantly, I never confused having money with having worth. Victoria, who'd recently earned an actual promotion based on merit, nodded. You taught us all something, Alex, even if we didn't want to learn it. I smiled. That's what teachers do best. Later that night, after everyone had left, I stood at my window, looking out at the city. My phone buzzed with another alert. Another successful acquisition, another quiet victory. But this time, I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. Because true success isn't about proving your worth to others. It's about proving it to yourself. And I'd done that, one silent victory at a time, in a Honda Civic that had carried me further than all their luxury cars combined.
The morning felt just like any other. I had a cup of black coffee in my hand, and my laptop screen was full of unpaid invoices. My head hurt from another night without sleep. I wasn't in the mood to talk to anyone, and I definitely wasn't in the mood for my younger sister, Lauren, showing up like she always did. No warning, no knock, just walking in like she owned the place. Before we go on, tell me in the comments, what would you do if this happened to you? Be real with me. We read every single one. Anyway, let's get back to it. Lana, my phone's dead. Let me borrow your charger, Lauren said as she walked in. She threw her expensive Louis Vuitton bag on my couch like it meant nothing and dropped her iPad on the table with a loud clack. I gave her a small, tired smile and pushed my charger toward her. I'm working, I said, keeping my voice low. Yeah, your little invoice life. You're such a saint, she said, rolling her eyes. She plugged in her phone and didn't even look at me again. She was already busy tapping away on her iPad. She left it open when she stepped outside to take a phone call. That's when everything changed. I didn't mean to look, honestly, but the screen lit up. A notification popped up with my name, Jacqueline, in big letters. It was from a group chat called Tham. I felt a knot form in my stomach. I don't know what made me do it, but I tapped on the message. She's literally a doormat, lol. Like, she'll just pay the bills and still thank us for dinner. Lauren, just keep telling her she's appreciated and she'll keep paying your rent. Dumb girl has no backbone. Dad, she thinks love means sacrifice. Let her suffer. Just smile and nod. Mom, just pretend to care. She's useful AF. Cousin Laura. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't just one comment. It was a whole thread of messages, and they were all about me. I stood there frozen. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was like something had broken inside me. I read the messages again and again. My hands were shaking as I took screenshots of everything. I couldn't believe the people I had been helping all year were saying these things. I had paid off Dad's car payments, helped with Lauren's credit card bills, covered Mom's medical expenses, and never once asked for anything in return. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought love meant showing up when people needed you. But now it felt like I had been used, lied to, made into a joke behind my back. That morning started like any other.
But it didn't end that way.
I didn't notice the spa receipts at first. They were tucked inside the folder where we kept all the bills. I had been living off plain rice and eggs every day, trying to save money. I skipped meals, wore old clothes, and told myself it was fine because I was helping my family. Meanwhile, they were out there enjoying steak dinners and fancy spa treatments without even telling me. And they thought I was too dumb to notice. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the screen. The messages in the group chat still flashed in my mind. Instead of feeling broken, I felt calm. Strangely calm. I made a quiet decision right then. Let them keep thinking I'm the doormat. Just for one more day. One last day. That night, I cooked dinner like I always did. I made meatloaf and garlic mashed potatoes, Lauren's favorite. She ate it on my couch with her legs up like she owned the place. "You're too good to us, Jacqueline," Mom said during our family video call. She even wiped away a fake tear. "Yeah," Dad said while chewing, "you've always been the glue holding this family together." Lauren gave me a wink. "Don't ever change, sis. You're perfect just the way you are." I smiled, but only with my lips. Inside, I was done. Perfect just the way I am?
Sure.
Let's go with that. After I cleaned up the dishes, I opened my laptop and sent out 5 emails, one to my accountant, one to my lawyer, and one to my landlord. Then I turned off the lights, sat by the window, and watched as they all left for the night. They didn't know anything had changed. They still thought they had fooled me, but they had no idea what was coming. The next morning, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. No loud knocks at the door. No text from Lauren asking for money to go out for brunch. No missed calls from Mom trying to guilt me into sending money for family needs. There was only the soft hum of the fridge and the clicking of my fingers on the keyboard. I hadn't slept much, but I felt more awake than I had in years. I opened one last email and typed out a message to my bank. The subject line read, "Immediate freeze, joint accounts." Then I turned off my phone. That was it. No more money going into Dad's account. No more paying off Lauren's rent. No more sending money for Mom's insurance. It all stopped. Now they can open their group chat and figure out how to pay for their own lives. Without me. Without the doormat. I didn't go outside to run away. I just needed to breathe. I walked through downtown, past all the usual places. The corner cafe where Lauren once yelled at me for using almond milk instead of oat milk in her latte. The boutique where Mom accidentally used my credit card to buy a $2,100 coat. She still told everyone it was on clearance. Every place I passed reminded me of how much I had given, and how little they had given back. But today wasn't about them anymore. For once, it was about me. I walked into the office of Cynthia Nixon, one of the toughest lawyers in the city. I sat down and handed her a thick stack of papers, screenshots from the family group chat, proof of money sent, and everything else they didn't think I'd notice. She looked through the messages. Her eyes narrowed, and then she looked up. "I take it you're ready to stop funding their lives?" she asked. "I'm not just done," I said quietly. "I want everything in writing. A clean break. I want records of every dollar I ever gave them. And if they try to come after me, I want to be ready. I want to file for civil restitution if I have to." Cynthia smiled. Just a little. It was the kind of smile that cuts. "Honey," she said, "you've come to the right place." That night, the storm hit. It started with a voicemail. Lauren's voice, loud and angry. "Jacqueline, what the hell? My card got declined at Zara." Then another message. Dad's car payment didn't go through. And another. Mom says her prescription didn't get filled. A text from Mom. Sweetheart, is something wrong with the bank? Your father's account says 0. Please fix this. Then came a call from Dad. I didn't answer. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat at my desk. The group chat started to light up like a Christmas tree. Lauren, what is happening? Mom. Jacqueline, call me now. Dad, you better fix this. I swear to God. Cousin Laura, wait, are you mad about that? It was just jokes. Lauren again. You're being dramatic. You've always been too emotional. I stared at the screen, calm and quiet. I watched their panic grow with every message. They were falling apart, confused, helpless. For years, they had walked all over me, used me, laughed behind my back. Now they were the ones on shaky ground. Finally, I typed one message. I know everything. And then I left the group chat. But that wasn't the end. That was just the beginning. Let them sit in the silence. Let them feel what it's like when the person they called useful disappears. Let them live without the one who held everything together. Let them figure it out. Without me. I wanted them to feel what life was like without me. Really feel it. The next morning, I took a day off from work. I got in my car and drove to the house I grew up in, the same house I had helped pay for over the years. In fact, without my money, they probably wouldn't even still have that house. I remembered how I used to sleep on the pull-out couch in the living room just so Lauren could have the only guest bedroom. That memory used to make me proud. Now it just made me tired. I rang the doorbell. No one answered. Of course. But I knew the spare key was still hidden in that same fake rock beside the front steps. Some things never changed. I let myself in and walked straight to the dining table. That table had seen a lot of family dinners, the kind where they smiled at me, said thank you, and then sent nasty messages behind my back the minute I left the room. I sat down and opened the suitcase I had brought with me. Inside were folders full of papers, bank statements, receipts, and proof. Proof that I had spent over $89,000 helping them over the past 6 years. I laid out the folders across the table, side by side. I didn't leave any out. When they walked in later, they would see everything. No yelling, no arguing, just the truth in black and white. On the wall above the table, I taped a single note. I was your backbone. Now stand on your own. That evening, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 50 missed calls. The last voicemail was from my mother. Her voice was shaky. Jacqueline, please. We didn't mean any of those things. You know how families joke around. You're just taking it too far. I didn't even listen to the whole message. I deleted it. They weren't sorry for what they said. They were only sorry that I found out. Now that the money had stopped, they were starting to fall apart. And fast. The next morning, I heard a knock at my apartment door. Not a text. Not a call. A knock. I opened it to see Lauren standing there. Her makeup was smudged. Her fancy hair, normally styled at a blowout bar for $440, was now in a messy bun. She looked nothing like the girl who used to walk into my apartment like a queen. I just want to talk, she said, arms crossed. Can I come in? No, I said. She blinked, like she hadn't even thought I might say no. I said, I just want to talk, she repeated, this time with a sharper tone. Look, I know you saw the chat, but you took it the wrong way. We were just joking. I didn't answer, because I wasn't laughing. I leaned against the doorframe, looking right at Lauren. That joke cost me my savings, I said quietly. Oh, come on, she huffed. You're acting like we're monsters. We love you. No, I said, calm and steady. You loved what I did for you. That's not the same. She rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. Fine. Be dramatic. You always were. But you'll come around. You always do. That's when I smiled for real, but not the way she expected. Not this time, I said. And then I closed the door. Later that day, I sat across from Cynthia Nixon again. She was ready for me. On the desk in front of her was a thick packet, legal documents. This outlines every time you were financially taken advantage of, she explained. It shows how your family asked for help under false stories and never paid you back. We can either file it formally in court or just deliver it to them to make a point. I want them to see it, I said. I want them to know exactly how much they took and that I'm done. She nodded. I'll have it delivered by courier tomorrow. But Jacqueline, if you want to walk away right now, you can. You don't have to do this. I didn't even pause. I want to do this, I told her. It's not just about getting even. It's about getting my life back. And I meant it. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't trying to keep the peace or fix everyone else's mess. I wasn't saying it's fine when it wasn't. And that silence, the quiet that followed when I stopped chasing their approval, it felt good. But silence doesn't last long in families like mine. 3 nights later, I was standing in line at the grocery store. My cart was full of normal things, fresh food, real ingredients. Not the instant noodles and cheap snacks I used to survive on while sending my money to everyone else. That's when I heard a voice behind me. Jacqueline, wait. It was Laura, my cousin. She jogged up to me, smiling like we were best friends. The same girl who had called me a useful idiot just a week ago. She reached into her fancy designer bag and pulled out a small gift bag. I wanted to say sorry, she said, holding it out. That group chat was wrong. I get it now, and I feel really bad. I opened the bag. Inside was a half-used scented candle and a $12 Starbucks gift card. Seriously? I looked up at her. Do you think $10 and a candle make up for 6 years of being used? Her smile faded. Her face stiffened. You don't have to be bitter, Jacqueline. I looked her in the eyes and said, this isn't bitterness. This is boundaries. And I walked away. Bitter? I asked, raising my voice just enough for the man in line behind me to look over.
No, Laura.
Bitter was me working overtime so you could take vacations with your friends. Bitter was me watching you wear clothes and shoes I didn't even know I paid for. I held up the scented candle she gave me. This is pathetic. I placed the gift bag on the store counter and walked away without another word. That's when it all began. The whispers, the lies, the rumors. My family turned on me like I had betrayed them. Overnight, I wasn't the helpful daughter or the giving sister anymore. I became the selfish one, the cold-hearted one, the one who abandoned her family during their hardest times. But I didn't back down. I sent each of them a full copy of the legal packet.
Dad, Mom,
Lauren, Laura, everyone. Every page of proof, every receipt, every dollar I had given them. Along with it, I sent one final message. From now on, I only pay for myself. That same night, I did something for me for the first time in years. I booked a weekend trip to Hawaii. Just me, a quiet cabin in the woods, no Wi-Fi, no texts, no calls, and no one asking for money or favors. When I got there, I sat by the fireplace and drank my coffee while watching the snow fall outside. Real coffee. Not the reheated cup I usually drank after dealing with everyone else's problems. It was peaceful. So quiet. No yelling. No guilt. Just silence. But peace doesn't last long when your family is used to having control. When I came home, I unlocked my apartment door and stepped inside. Nothing seemed missing. Nothing looked broken. But something felt wrong. The living room was too perfect. The couch cushions were arranged, but not the way I left them. My favorite mug was turned just slightly on the shelf. A photo from my college graduation, one of the only pictures where my dad actually showed up, had been flipped face down. Then I saw it. On the kitchen counter, in neat handwriting, was a note. It wasn't on fancy paper. It was scribbled on the back of a grocery store receipt, the kind you get from the corner shop near my building. You think you're free of us. You're not. There was no name. No signature. No signs of a break-in. Just that sentence in cheap black ink. I stood frozen in the doorway, still holding my suitcase. My heart was pounding. It wasn't a robbery. Nothing was stolen. It was a warning. A quiet threat. Someone wanted me to know they had been here. They wanted me to know I was being watched. This wasn't about money anymore. Now it was personal. I called the building manager and asked to see the security camera footage. He told me the cameras had gone offline 3 days ago because of maintenance. How convenient. I went straight to the police and filed a report, but they didn't take it seriously. There were no signs of forced entry, no items stolen, just what they called a family misunderstanding. To them, it was nothing, but to me, it was everything. I took it seriously because I knew what it meant. The next morning, I got to work. I changed every lock on every door. I installed new security cameras. I bolted every window shut. I upgraded the alarm system. I wasn't going to be caught off guard again. Then I called Cynthia, my lawyer. I need restraining orders, I told her. For every one of them. There was a pause on the other end. Even your parents? She asked. Especially them. Another long silence. Then she said, Okay, I'll get started. But I knew something deeper. I wasn't going to live in fear. That's what they wanted. Fear was their tool. It was how they kept control over me. But I had something they never expected. I had my voice. So I used it. I wrote a blog post for a site called Real Women Rise. At first, I published it anonymously. The title was The Doormat Diaries, how my family used me and how I finally said no. I didn't hold back. I wrote everything about the group chat, the money I gave, the lies they told, the way they pretended it was love when it was really manipulation. I told the world how I kept giving until I had nothing left. Within days, the post went viral. Comments poured in. I thought I was the only one. You're brave for telling the truth. This is my story too. Women from all over the country shared their stories. Sisters who paid for everything and got blamed anyway. Daughters who were made to feel guilty for saying no. Women who were drained emotionally and financially in the name of family. My story became more than a story. It became a voice for people who were too scared to speak up. That's when my family started to panic. Lauren called me from a blocked number. She left a voicemail in a fake sweet voice. Jacqueline, how could you share our personal problems with strangers? You've embarrassed us. Are you proud of that? Then my dad sent a text. You just made yourself look weak. Family forgives, strangers don't. Mom emailed me a long message about forgiveness. For paragraphs about how blood always wins. But it was too late. Their version of the story had been exposed. They weren't the caring, loving people they pretended to be. Now, the world saw the truth. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't ashamed. I felt free, finally, like a weight had been lifted off my chest. But just because I felt clean didn't mean they were done. 1 week later, I got a letter in the mail. It looked official, printed on formal paper. At the bottom was my father's name in bold. You owe us. The letter listed everything they claimed I borrowed over the years. Furniture.
Food.
Shared bills from when I lived at home during college. They even included small things like phone bills and groceries. The total? $29,051.99. I laughed so hard I actually cried. But Cynthia, my lawyer, didn't laugh at all. This is a move to scare you, she said. They're trying to get ahead of things. They want to either push you into court or make themselves look like the victims. They're trying to change the story. Let them try, I replied. I have the truth. They have lies. But this time, they weren't the only ones with a voice. The blog I wrote had caught the attention of a podcast producer in Savannah. He reached out to me after reading my story. Jacqueline, he said, have you ever thought about telling your story out loud? On air? I wasn't sure. The blog had already helped so many people. Did I need to do more? But he said something that stayed with me. Your words helped people. But your voice, your pain, your honesty could help even more. So I agreed. I recorded the episode using my real name. No more hiding. I shared everything. The lies, the group chat, the money, the emotional pain I had swallowed for years. I spoke the words I had kept buried inside me. The podcast episode aired on Tuesday. By Sunday, it had been downloaded over 3 million times. People weren't just listening. They were reaching out. Messages poured in, letters, emails, donations, offers to help. Some even came from lawyers who wanted to represent me for free. And just like that, I wasn't the quiet girl in the background anymore. I had become the storm. 4 days after the podcast came out, I got an email with the subject line, "Family lawsuit withdrawn." They had backed down. Cynthia confirmed it. No judge believed their story. They folded, not because they were sorry, but because they saw I wasn't scared anymore. 3 weeks later, I moved into a new apartment. It was smaller, quieter, but it was mine. No unannounced visits. No guilt-filled texts.
Just peace.
Peace I had earned. One afternoon, I heard a knock at the door. I opened it and saw Lauren. No fancy makeup. No expensive clothes. Just tired eyes and something that looked like regret. She held out a folded letter. "Please," she whispered, "just read it." I took it, closed the door, but I never opened it. Months passed, and I never looked back. I started doing something new with my time, something that made a real difference. I began teaching financial literacy workshops for women. I told them everything I had learned the hard way: how to manage money, how to set boundaries, how to spot emotional manipulation that hides behind the word love. I told them what no one ever told me growing up. Saying no doesn't make you a bad daughter, sister, or friend. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. It makes you free. The women who came to my classes often cried. Some had been giving their paychecks away to their families for years. Others had never bought anything for themselves because they felt guilty. I looked them in the eyes and said, "You don't owe anyone your peace." And little by little, I watched them grow stronger, just like I had. Then one day, I was walking through town when something stopped me cold. I looked into the window of a small cafe, and I froze in place. Inside were my parents and Lauren. They were sitting together at a corner table. They looked tired, a little older, not physically sick, but worn down, the way people look when they've lost control of something they thought they'd always have. They were laughing at something, smiling. For just a second, I felt that old pain in my chest, the ache of missing them. The part of me that still wished we had been a real family, a loving one, the kind that didn't hurt each other in silence or behind screens. But then I remembered everything they had said, everything they had done. I remembered all the nights I cried alone, feeling used and unloved while they lived off my effort. And so I took a deep breath and kept walking. They had each other. And I finally had me. I didn't need to turn around. I didn't need to go in and pretend things were okay.
I didn't know them that.
I had given more than enough for one lifetime. Now I was living life on my terms. My money was mine. My time was mine. My future was mine. I had new friends, a new job, and a quiet apartment full of peace and fresh coffee and books I actually had time to read. I laughed more. I slept better. I cried less. And every time I helped another woman take her first steps toward freedom, I knew I was doing something good, something real. I was no longer their helper, no longer their backup plan, no longer their doormat. I was free, and that was more than enough.
I'm staring at my scar in the bathroom mirror when my sister calls to tell me I'm not invited to her wedding. "Yesenia, we need to talk," Sasha says, her voice that fake sweet tone she uses when she's about to drop a bomb. My name is Yesenia, and 8 months ago, I gave my little sister one of my kidneys to save her life. Today, she's calling to uninvite me from her wedding because apparently my scar is disgusting and I'm an embarrassment. But let me back up. The scar runs about 6 inches across my left side, a pale pink line that's still tender to the touch. It's not pretty, I'll give you that. But it's also the reason Sasha is alive to have this conversation. "What do you mean we need to talk?" I ask, though something in my stomach is already twisting. "About the wedding, about your situation." My situation, like my kidney donation, is some kind of embarrassing medical condition instead of the reason she's not on dialysis 3 times a week. "Sasha, what are you talking about?" She takes a deep breath, and I can practically hear her rehearsing this speech in her head. "Look, Yesenia, you know how grateful I am for what you did. We all are. But this wedding, it's really important to Emerson's family. His mother runs this huge charity foundation, And there's going to be photographers everywhere and I just think it would be better if you didn't come. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually have to sit down on the edge of my bathtub. You're uninviting me from your wedding. It's not personal. It's just your scar is really noticeable, and with all the photos and everything, I don't want people asking questions or making it about your medical stuff instead of about me and Emerson. I'm quiet for so long that she actually says, "Hello, are you there?" "I'm here." My voice sounds strange, even to me. I'm just trying to process the fact that my little sister, whose life I literally saved, is telling me I'm too ugly to attend her wedding. Don't be dramatic. I never said you were ugly. You said my scar was disgusting. I said it was noticeable. There's a difference. There really isn't, but I don't have the energy to argue semantics with someone who's clearly made up her mind. Sasha, do you remember when you were in the hospital? When they told you that without a transplant you had maybe 6 months? Of course I remember. Do you remember what you said to me when I told you I was a match? Silence. You cried and said I was your hero. You said you'd never be able to repay me, but you'd spend the rest of your life trying. Yesenia, that's not fair. What's not fair is that I'm having this conversation at all. I can hear her getting defensive now, her voice rising the way it always does when she knows she's wrong, but won't admit it. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Emerson's family is incredibly wealthy, and his mother is famous for her charity work. She's written books about altruism and organ donation. If she finds out about your kidney thing, she'll want to make it this whole big story. And I just want my wedding to be about me and Emerson, not about your medical drama. My medical drama, I repeat the word slowly. Is that what we're calling it now? You know what I mean? No, Sasha, I really don't. Because 8 months ago, when you were dying, it wasn't medical drama. It was me lying on an operating table for 4 hours so they could cut me open and give you a piece of my body to keep you alive. And I'm grateful, but that doesn't mean I have to center my entire wedding around it. I'm not asking you to center your wedding around it. I'm asking you to let me attend my own sister's wedding. It's complicated. It's really not. I hear voices in the background, and then Sasha's voice gets muffled like she's covering the phone. Who's there? I ask. Mom and Dad came over to help with wedding planning. Of course they did. And of course they're probably nodding along with every word she's saying. Put Mom on the phone. Yesenia, I don't think... Put her on the phone, Sasha. There's some shuffling, and then my mother's voice comes through, carefully neutral. Hi, sweetheart. Mum, are you seriously okay with this? A pause that tells me everything I need to know. We just want what's best for everyone, Yesenia. This is Sasha's special day. And there it is. The moment I realise that saving my sister's life has somehow made me the villain in this story. Mum, I gave Sasha my kidney. I literally gave her a piece of my body to save her life. We know, sweetheart, and we're so grateful. Then why are you letting her ban me from her wedding? Another pause. I can practically hear the three of them exchanging looks. It's not a ban, Yesenia, it's just... Maybe it would be better if you took some time for yourself. You know, focus on your recovery. I recovered 6 months ago. Emotionally, I mean. This whole experience has been traumatic for everyone. I actually laugh out loud at that. Traumatic for everyone? Mum, I'm the one with the scar. I'm the one who went through surgery. I'm the one who... And we appreciate that sacrifice. My dad's voice cuts in. He must have taken the phone. Which is why we want to make sure you're compensated appropriately. Compensated? We've been talking, and we think it would be fair to give you some money for your medical expenses, your time off work, everything you've been through. I'm so stunned I can't speak for a moment. You want to pay me to stay away from Sasha's wedding? We want to show our appreciation for your sacrifice, while also respecting Sasha's wishes for her special day. How much? Excuse me? How much money are you offering me to pretend I don't exist? Yesenia, don't be like that. No, I'm curious. What's the going rate for a kidney and a lifetime of family shame? 5,000? 10? Silence. 20,000, my dad finally says quietly. I have to sit down again. $20,000. That's more money than I've ever had at one time in my life. Let me get this straight. You want to give me $20,000 to stay away from my own sister's wedding because my scar might ruin her photos. It's not about the scar. Sasha's voice comes through. She must be listening on speaker. It's about the questions. If people see it, they'll ask about it, and then the whole story comes out, and suddenly my wedding becomes about your kidney donation instead of about me and Emerson. God forbid anyone finds out that your sister saved your life. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Sasha? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're ashamed of me. I'm not ashamed of you. I'm ashamed of the situation. I am the situation. No, you're not. You're my sister, and I love you. But this wedding is the most important day of my life, and I can't have anything go wrong. Anything like me. Anything like drama and questions and people making it about something other than my marriage. I walk to my laptop and open Facebook. Sasha's profile is public, and I scroll through her recent posts. Engagement photos, wedding planning updates, dress shopping pictures. Not a single mention of being sick. Not one word about the transplant. It's like the last 2 years of her life just disappeared. Sasha, I'm looking at your Facebook right now. What? Why? You've deleted everything. Every post about being sick, every photo from the hospital, every thank you message about the donation. It's all gone. I just wanted a fresh start. A fresh start that doesn't include me. That's not... Mum, are you seeing this? Your daughter has literally erased me from her life story. My mum's voice comes back on, careful and measured. Yesenia, we understand you're upset, but you have to understand Sasha's position. She's marrying into a very prominent family. Emerson's mother runs a foundation. She's written books. She's very well respected in society. Sasha needs to make a good impression. And having a sister who donated a kidney makes a bad impression? Having a sister with visible surgical scars at a high-profile wedding might raise questions that Sasha isn't ready to answer. Questions like what? Like how her sister saved her life? Questions about medical procedures and family drama and things that should stay private. I'm pacing now, my free hand clenched into a fist. So let me make sure I understand this correctly. You want me to take $20,000, stay away from the wedding, and keep quiet about the fact that I donated my kidney to Sasha. We want you to respect Sasha's privacy and her wishes for her wedding day. And if I don't? The silence stretches so long, I wonder if they've hung up. Yesenia, my dad finally says, we're hoping it won't come to that. Come to what? Come to you making this difficult for everyone. I hang up. My hands are shaking as I call my best friend Tiffany. They offered me money, I say as soon as she picks up. What kind of money? $20,000 to stay away from Sasha's wedding and keep my mouth shut about the kidney donation. Holy shit. Yeah. Are you going to take it? I look at myself in the mirror again, at the scar that saved my sister's life and apparently ruined her wedding. I don't know. Don't take the money, Tiffany says immediately. Yesenia, please tell me you're not actually considering taking their blood money. It's $20,000, Tiff. That's more than I make in 6 months. It's hush money. They're literally paying you to disappear. I'm sitting on my couch now, staring at the stack of medical bills on my coffee table. Even with insurance, the kidney donation cost me almost $3,000 out of pocket. Money I'm still paying off. Maybe disappearing isn't the worst thing. Maybe I should just take the money and move on. Move on to what? A life where your own family pretends you don't exist? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Hi, Yesenia. This is Emerson. I got your number from Sasha's phone. Can we talk? I show Tiffany the message. Oh, shit. He doesn't know, does he? Apparently not. I'm about to text back when my phone rings. It's my dad. Don't answer that, Tiffany says. I answer it anyway. Yesenia, we need you to not contact Emerson. I haven't contacted him. He contacted me. Well, don't respond. Sasha is handling the situation. What situation? The situation where her fiancé doesn't know his bride-to-be is only alive because of her sister's kidney. The situation where you're trying to cause problems for your sister's engagement. I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm trying to understand why I'm being erased from my own family. You're not being erased. You're being asked to be discreet. There's a difference? Yes, there is. And if you can't see that, then maybe you need to think about whether you really want what's best for Sasha. He hangs up before I can respond. They're panicking, Tiffany says. Good. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Emerson. I'm outside your apartment building. Can I come up? Tiffany's eyes go wide. He's here? I look out my window and see a black BMW parked on the street. A tall guy in an expensive-looking jacket is leaning against it, looking up at my building. Yeah, he's here. This is perfect. Tell him everything. Tiff, I can't. If I tell him, it'll destroy Sasha's engagement. So? She's trying to destroy your relationship with your entire family. I buzz him up before I can change my mind. 3 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. I open it to find a guy who looks like he stepped out of a magazine ad for luxury cars. Tall, perfectly styled hair, clothes that probably cost more than my rent. Yesenia, I'm Emerson. I know who you are. He looks nervous, which is weird because guys who look like him are usually confident about everything. Can I come in? I think we need to talk. I step aside and let him in. Tiffany waves from the couch. This is my friend Tiffany. Hi, he says, then turns back to me. Look, I'm going to be direct. Sasha told me you two had some kind of falling out, and that's why you're not coming to the wedding. But she won't tell me what it's about, and your parents keep changing the subject whenever I ask. What did she tell you exactly? That you've been going through a difficult time and that you decided it would be better if you didn't attend. Something about needing space to work through personal issues. I actually snort. Personal issues. That's not what happened, is it? Tiffany is making encouraging gestures behind his back, but I can't do it. I can't be the one to blow up his engagement. Emerson, maybe you should ask Sasha these questions. I did ask Sasha. She said it was complicated family stuff and that I wouldn't understand. Maybe she's right. He sits down on my couch without being invited, which is bold, but somehow doesn't feel rude. Try me? Why do you care? You barely know me. Because the woman I'm supposed to marry in 3 weeks is lying to me about something, and I can tell it's something big. And because every time your name comes up, everyone in your family gets this weird look on their faces. What kind of look? Guilty, like they're hiding something they're ashamed of. Tiffany clears her throat. Maybe I should go. No, stay, Emerson says quickly. Actually, maybe you can help me understand what's going on here. Tiffany looks at me, eyebrows raised. Tiff, don't. Don't what? Emerson asks. Don't tell him about the kidney, I say before I can stop myself. The room goes completely silent. Emerson stares at me. What kidney? I close my eyes. Shit. Yesenia, what kidney? I open my eyes and look at him. He's leaning forward now, his whole body tense. The kidney I gave to Sasha 8 months ago to save her life. His face goes completely white. You gave Sasha a kidney? Yeah, and she didn't tell me. Apparently not. He stands up and starts pacing, running his hands through his hair. She told me she had food poisoning last year. That's why she was in the hospital. She had kidney failure. And you donated your kidney to her. Yes. He stops pacing and looks at me. And now she's uninvited you from the wedding because my scar is disgusting and I'm an embarrassment. Emerson sits back down heavily, like someone just punched him in the stomach. She said your scar was disgusting. Her exact words were that it was disgusting, and that I was an embarrassment who would ruin her wedding photos. Jesus Christ. He puts his head in his hands. My mother is going to lose her mind. Your mother? She runs a foundation for organ donation awareness. She's written 3 books about the importance of living donors. She gives speeches about people like you. Tiffany and I exchange looks. People like me? Heroes. That's what she calls living donors. Heroes who sacrifice their own bodies to save strangers. He looks up at me. You didn't save a stranger. You saved your sister. Yeah, well, apparently that doesn't count for much. Emerson stands up and starts pacing again. I have to go talk to Sasha. Emerson, wait, I say. Before you do anything, you should know that my parents offered me $20,000 to stay away from the wedding and keep quiet about the donation. He stops dead. They what? They want to pay me to disappear so I don't embarrass Sasha in front of your family. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. He pulls out his phone. I'm calling her right now. Don't. Why not? Because if you confront her about this, she'll know I told you, and then my entire family will cut me off completely. They're already cutting you off, but there's still a chance they'll come to their senses. If you blow this up now, there's no going back. Emerson stares at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. Yesenia, they offered you money to pretend you don't exist. There's already no going back. Tiffany nods. He's right. They've already shown you exactly who they are. But she's my sister. She's also a liar who's been deceiving her fiancé for months, Emerson says. What else hasn't she told me? My phone buzzes. It's a text from Sasha. Did you talk to Emerson? Dad said he was asking questions. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. I show them the message. She knows he was here, Tiffany says. They're probably tracking his car or something, I mutter. Emerson's phone starts ringing. He looks at the screen. It's Sasha. Don't answer it. I have to. If I don't, she'll know something's wrong. He answers the phone. Hey, babe. I can hear Sasha's voice through the speaker, high and anxious. Where are you? Your mum called looking for you. I'm just running some errands. Why? She wants to have dinner tonight to go over the final guest list. Can you be home by 6? Yeah, sure. Is everything okay? You sound stressed. I'm fine. Just wedding stuff, you know. I'll see you at home. She hangs up. She's definitely panicking, Tiffany observes. Emerson looks at his phone, then at me. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Okay. Is there anything else about Sasha that I should know? Anything else she's lied about or hidden from me? I think about it. Really think about it. She's not a bad person, Emerson. She's just scared. She's always been insecure about not being good enough. And now she's marrying into this wealthy, accomplished family, and she's terrified of not measuring up. That doesn't excuse lying to me. No, it doesn't, but it explains it. He nods slowly. What are you going to do about the money? I don't know. Don't take it, he says firmly. Whatever you do, don't take their money. Why not? Because once you take it, You become complicit in the lie. You become part of the cover-up. Tiffany pulls out her phone and starts typing. What are you doing? I ask. Looking up your future mother-in-law, she says to Emerson. Rosalie Williams, right? Yeah, why? Just curious about this foundation of hers. She shows us her phone screen. It's a website for something called the Williams Foundation, for altruism and organ donation. There's a photo of an elegant woman in her 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes. She's pretty, I say. She's also hosting a gala next month, Tiffany says, scrolling through the site. Look at this. She shows us an event page. Annual gala, celebrating extraordinary acts of living donation, honouring the heroes who give the gift of life. Emerson goes pale again. Oh, shit. What? She's been planning this gala for months. She keeps talking about it. She wants to highlight stories of living donors who've made incredible sacrifices. Stories like mine, I say quietly, exactly like yours. Tiffany grins. This is perfect. What's perfect? I ask. You should go to the gala? Tiff, I can't just show up to some fancy charity event. Why not? You're exactly the kind of person they're trying to honour. Emerson is staring at the website. Actually, she's right. My mum would love to meet you. She'd probably want to feature your story. But that would destroy Sasha's wedding. Sasha is destroying her own wedding by lying to everyone. My phone buzzes again. Another text from my dad. Have you thought about our offer? We need an answer soon. I show them the message. They're getting desperate, Tiffany says. Good, Emerson says. Let them sweat. He stands up and heads for the door. I have to go. But, Yesenia, promise me you won't take their money. I promise. And think about the gala. I think my mum would really like to meet you. After he leaves, Tiffany turns to me with a huge grin. We're going to that gala. We? Oh, hell yes. I wouldn't miss this for the world. I'm not going to some fancy gala, Tiff. I don't even own a dress nice enough for something like that. Then we'll get you one. Come on, this is perfect revenge. I don't want revenge. I just want my family back. Tiffany gives me a look that says she thinks I'm being naive, but before she can argue, my phone rings. It's an unknown number with a local area code. Hello? Is this Yesenia? The voice is older, refined, with just a hint of a southern accent. Yes. Who is this? This is Rosalie Williams. I believe you know my son Emerson. My heart stops. Tiffany's eyes go wide. Mrs. Williams? Hi. I hope you don't mind me calling. Emerson gave me your number. He said you might be interested in speaking with someone about your experience as a living donor. I look at Tiffany, who's making frantic hand gestures. My experience? Yes, dear. Emerson told me you donated a kidney to your sister. I run a foundation that supports living donors, and I'm always looking to connect with people who've been through that journey. He told you about the donation? He did. He seemed quite moved by your story. He said you might benefit from talking to someone who understands the unique challenges that living donors face. I'm quiet for so long that she continues. I hope I'm not overstepping. It's just that, in my work, I've found that many living donors struggle with feeling unappreciated or misunderstood by their families after the surgery. The physical recovery is one thing, but the emotional recovery can be much more complicated. That's actually very accurate. Would you be willing to meet for coffee? I'd love to hear your story, and perhaps I can offer some perspective from others who've been in similar situations. Tiffany is nodding so vigorously, I'm worried she's going to hurt her neck. Yes, I think I'd like that. Wonderful. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? There's a lovely little cafe called Magnolia's on 5th Street. I know the place. What time? Shall we say 2 o'clock? That works. Perfect. I'll see you then, dear. She hangs up and I stare at my phone. Holy shit, Tiffany whispers. She called you. Emerson must have told her everything. This is it, Yesenia. This is your chance. My chance for what? To tell your story to someone who actually matters, someone who has influence and power and can make sure people know what really happened. My phone buzzes with a text from Sasha. Mum said you haven't given them an answer about the money. Please just take it and let us move on. Then another text immediately after. I know Emerson came to see you. Whatever you told him, please don't make this worse than it already is. I show Tiffany the messages. She's scared. Good. She should be. But what if I'm making a mistake? What if I should just take the money and disappear like they want? Yesenia, listen to me. You saved your sister's life. You went through major surgery. You have a permanent scar. You're still paying off medical bills. And instead of being grateful, they're trying to pay you to pretend it never happened. That's not normal. That's not okay. My phone rings again. This time it's my mum. Hi, Mum. Yesenia, we need to talk. Can you come over for dinner tonight? Why? Because we're family and we need to work this out. Work what out? You've already made it clear where you stand. That's not fair. We're trying to find a solution that works for everyone. A solution that works for everyone except me. That's not true. The money we're offering you is generous. It's more than most people make in a year. I don't want your money, Mum. Then what do you want? I want to be invited to my sister's wedding. I want my family to be proud of what I did instead of ashamed of it. I want to not be treated like some dirty secret that needs to be hidden. We're not ashamed of you. Then why are you paying me to stay away? Silence. Mum? It's complicated, Yesenia. It's really not. Either you're proud of me or you're not. Either I'm welcome at family events or I'm not. Either I'm your daughter or I'm not. Of course you're our daughter. Then act like it. I hang up. Tiffany reaches over and squeezes my hand. You did the right thing. Did I? Because it doesn't feel right. It feels like I'm destroying my family. Your family destroyed itself when they chose Sasha's image over your sacrifice. My phone buzzes with another text. This one from my dad. Your mother is very upset. Please reconsider dinner tonight. We can work this out. Then another from Sasha. Please don't do anything stupid. I'm begging you. And finally, one from Emerson. How did the call with my mum go? She seemed really excited to meet you. I show Tiffany all 3 messages. Look at that, she says. 3 different reactions to the same situation. Your parents are panicking, Sasha is desperate, and Emerson is supportive. Which one of those feels right to you? I know the answer, but I'm scared to admit it. The supportive one. Then trust that feeling. Go meet with Rosalie tomorrow. Tell her your story. Let her decide what to do with it. And if it ruins Sasha's engagement, then Sasha ruined her own engagement by lying to her fiancé for months. I look at Emerson's text again. She seemed really excited to meet you. Maybe it's time someone was excited about what I did instead of ashamed of it. I'm sitting in Magnolia's cafe at 1:55, wearing the nicest blouse I own and checking my phone every 30 seconds. At exactly 2 o'clock, a woman walks in who can only be Rosalie Williams. She's elegant in that effortless way that comes with money and confidence. Silver hair pulled back in a perfect chignon, wearing a cream-coloured blazer that probably costs more than my car payment, but her smile is warm and genuine as she spots me. Yesenia? Yes, ma'am. Please, call me Rosalie. She sits across from me and signals the waitress. Thank you so much for meeting me. Thank you for calling. I have to admit, I was surprised. Emerson spoke very highly of you. He said you were one of the most selfless people he'd ever met. The waitress comes over and Rosalie orders a latte. I stick with my coffee. He's very kind. He's also very concerned about your situation. My situation? The way your family has responded to your donation. He said they've been less than supportive. I take a sip of my coffee to buy time. It's complicated. Family situations often are. But in my experience, there's usually a simple truth underneath all the complications. She's looking at me with these kind but piercing eyes, and I can tell she's the type of person who doesn't accept surface-level answers. The simple truth is that I gave my sister a kidney to save her life, and now she's ashamed of me. Ashamed of you for saving her life. Ashamed of my scar. She says it's disgusting and that I'll embarrass her at her wedding. Rosalie's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in her eyes. Her wedding to my son. Yes. And she's uninvited you because of your surgical scar. She says it will raise questions and make her wedding about my medical drama instead of about her marriage. Rosalie sets down her latte carefully. Medical drama. That's what she called it. And your parents support this decision? They offered me $20,000 to stay away and keep quiet about the donation. Now, Rosalie's composure cracks slightly. They offered you money to hide the fact that you saved your daughter's life. They said it was compensation for my sacrifice and that I should respect Sasha's privacy. Her privacy. Yes. Rosalie is quiet for a long moment, and I can practically see her processing this information. Yesenia, may I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you regret donating your kidney? No, never. Even with everything that's happened, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Even knowing how your family would react? Even knowing how they'd react? She nods slowly. That's what I thought you'd say. In my 20 years of working with living donors, I've found that the truly selfless ones never regret their decision, no matter how badly they're treated afterward. You've seen this before? Unfortunately, yes. Families who are grateful in the moment, but become uncomfortable with the reminder of their loved one's mortality. People who want to move on and pretend the crisis never happened. So, I'm not crazy for feeling hurt by this? You're not crazy at all. You're human, and you deserved better from your family. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Sasha. Where are you? Mum said you didn't come to dinner last night and you're not answering their calls. I show Rosalie the message. They're looking for you. They want an answer about the money. What are you going to tell them? I don't know. Rosalie leans forward. Yesenia, I want to share something with you. Next month, my foundation is hosting our annual gala. We honour living donors who've made extraordinary sacrifices. This year, we're specifically focusing on donors who face challenges or rejection from their families. Emerson mentioned the gala. Did he? Good. I'd like to invite you to attend as our guest of honour. I nearly choke on my coffee. Guest of honour? Your story is exactly what we're trying to highlight. The courage it takes to donate, and the additional courage it takes to stand up for yourself when your family tries to erase your sacrifice. But if I do that, it'll destroy Sasha's engagement. Will it? Or will it simply force her to tell the truth? My phone buzzes again. This time it's my dad. We're coming over. We need to settle this today. Then another from my mum. Please don't make us do this the hard way. What does that mean? I ask, showing Rosalie the messages. It sounds like a threat. They're threatening me? It sounds like they're trying to intimidate you into taking their money. My phone rings. It's Sasha. I have to take this. Yesenia, where the hell are you? Sasha's voice is shrill with panic. I'm having coffee with a friend. What friend? Mom and Dad went to your apartment and you weren't there. I'm allowed to leave my apartment, Sasha, not when we're trying to have a family meeting to resolve this situation. There's nothing to resolve. You've made your position clear. My position is that I want what's best for everyone. No, your position is that you want what's best for you. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Having surgery to save your sister's life and then being told you're too disgusting to attend her wedding. I never said you were disgusting. You said my scar was disgusting. Same thing. Rosalie is watching this conversation with interest. Yesenia, please, just come home so we can talk about this like adults. I am talking about it like an adult. I'm talking about it with someone who actually appreciates what living donors go through. Who are you with? I look at Rosalie, who nods encouragingly. I'm with Rosalie Williams. The silence on the other end of the phone is deafening. You're with Emerson's mother? Yes. What did you tell her? I told her the truth. Oh my God! Oh my God, Yesenia, what have you done? I've had coffee with a very nice woman who runs a foundation for people like me. People like you? Living donors who get treated like shit by their families. I hang up. Rosalie is smiling. I take it that was your sister. Yeah, she's probably having a panic attack right now. Good. Maybe it's time she faced some consequences for her actions. My phone starts ringing immediately. First Sasha, then my mum, then my dad. I decline all the calls. They're panicking, I tell Rosalie, as they should be. She finishes her latte and checks her watch. Yesenia, I have a proposition for you. Okay. I'd like you to come to dinner at our house tonight. Emerson will be there, and I think it's time we had an honest conversation about this situation. What about Sasha? What about her? Won't she be there too? I haven't invited her. This dinner is for family and people I trust. Right now, I'm not sure your sister qualifies as either. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This is River, Emerson's brother. Mom told me what's happening. We're all on your side. I show Rosalie the message. River doesn't usually get involved in family drama, she says. The fact that he's reaching out means he's genuinely upset about this. Your whole family knows. Emerson told us everything last night. About the kidney donation, about your family's reaction, about the money they offered you. Her voice gets harder. We don't take kindly to people who try to buy silence about acts of heroism. My phone rings again. This time, it's Emerson. I should probably take this. Yesenia, thank God. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm still with your mum. Good. Listen, Sasha and your parents just showed up at my apartment. They're demanding to know where you are. What did you tell them? I told them it was none of their business, but they're not leaving. Your dad is threatening to call the police and report you missing. I'm 28 years old. I can't be reported missing for having coffee. That's what I told them. But they're getting aggressive. Your mum is crying, Sasha is screaming, and your dad keeps saying they need to fix this situation before it gets out of hand. Rosalie takes the phone from me. Emerson, it's Mum. Bring them to the house. What? You heard me. Bring all 3 of them to the house. It's time we settled this once and for all. Mum, are you sure? I'm sure. And Emerson, record the conversation on your phone. I have a feeling we're going to want documentation of what happens next. She hands the phone back to me. Rosalie, I don't think this is a good idea. Why not? Because it's going to be a disaster. My family is going to say terrible things, and your son is going to see exactly how toxic we are. Emerson already knows how toxic they are. The question is whether he's going to marry into it anyway. We drive to the Williams house in separate cars. Their place is exactly what I expected. A massive colonial with a circular driveway and perfectly manicured gardens. I feel completely out of place pulling up in my 10-year-old Honda. Rosalie meets me at the front door. Are you ready for this? No. Good. The best confrontations happen when people aren't ready for them. We walk into a living room that's bigger than my entire apartment. Emerson is sitting on a leather couch that probably costs more than my car. My parents and Sasha are huddled together on the opposite couch, looking like they're facing a firing squad. River is leaning against the fireplace, arms crossed, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Yesenia! My mom jumps up like she's going to hug me, but I step back. Mom, we've been so worried about you. No, you haven't. You've been worried about your secret getting out. That's not fair, my dad says. We're trying to protect the family. Which family? Rosalie asks, settling into an armchair like she's hosting a tea party. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're protecting one daughter at the expense of the other. Mrs. Williams, Sasha starts, but Rosalie holds up a hand. I'll get to you in a moment, dear. First, I'd like to hear from your parents. She looks at my mum and dad. I understand you offered my future daughter-in-law's sister money to stay away from the wedding. It's not like that, my mum says quickly. We just thought it would be better for everyone if the person who saved your daughter's life disappeared so you wouldn't have to acknowledge her sacrifice. We're very grateful for what Yesenia did, my dad says. Are you? Because offering someone money to hide their heroic act doesn't seem very grateful to me. Sasha finally speaks up. Mrs. Williams, you don't understand. This is a family matter. It became my matter when you lied to my son for months about why you were in the hospital. I didn't lie. I just didn't think it was relevant. You didn't think it was relevant that your sister donated a kidney to save your life? It's not that simple. Actually, it is that simple. Rosalie turns to Emerson. Show them the video. What video? Sasha asks, her voice getting higher. Emerson pulls out his phone and starts playing a recording. It's Sasha's voice from yesterday. Your scar is disgusting and you're an embarrassment. I can't have you ruin my photos. This is my day and I won't let your medical drama overshadow my wedding. The room goes completely silent. Did you really say that to your sister? Rosalie asks quietly. Sasha's face is bright red. That's taken out of context. What context makes calling your sister disgusting acceptable? I was stressed. Planning a wedding is incredibly stressful, and I just wanted everything to be perfect. Perfect enough to erase the person who saved your life. I wasn't trying to erase her. Then what were you trying to do? Sasha looks around the room desperately, but no one is coming to her rescue. I was trying to protect my future. Your future with my son. Yes, Rosalie nods slowly. I see. And you thought the best way to protect that future was to lie to him and abuse your sister. I didn't abuse anyone. You called her disgusting and offered her money to disappear. What would you call that? Sasha starts crying, but they're angry tears, not sad ones. This isn't fair, you're all ganging up on me. No, I say quietly. This is what accountability looks like. Sasha wipes her eyes and looks directly at me. Fine. You want accountability? Here it is. Yes, I said those things. Yes, I didn't want you at my wedding. And yes, I'm ashamed of your scar because it reminds everyone that I was sick and weak and almost died. The honesty is so brutal that everyone in the room goes quiet. There, are you happy now? I said it out loud. Actually, yes, I say. I am happy because for the first time in 8 months, you're telling the truth. The truth is that I hate being the sick sister. I hate that people look at me with pity. I hate that my entire identity became about kidney failure and transplants and medical procedures. When I met Emerson, I finally had a chance to be someone else. Someone healthy and normal and worthy of a man like him. And you thought erasing me would make you more worthy. I thought moving on from the whole medical nightmare would make me more worthy. Rosalie leans forward. Sasha, may I ask you something? I guess. Do you think Emerson would love you less if he knew you'd been sick? I don't know. Maybe. Emerson stands up. Then you don't know me at all. Emerson, please. No, Sasha. You've been lying to me for months because you thought I was so shallow that I'd reject you for having a medical condition. What does that say about what you think of me? It says I was scared of losing you. And what about what you did to Yesenia? What does that say about who you are? Sasha looks around the room again, but this time she seems to really see the faces staring back at her. Her parents look ashamed. River looks disgusted. Rosalie looks disappointed. Emerson looks heartbroken. It says I'm selfish, she whispers. Yeah, I say, it does. So what happens now? My dad asks. Do we all just pretend this conversation never happened? No, Rosalie says firmly. We don't pretend anything. Emerson, what do you want to do? Emerson looks at Sasha for a long moment. I want to postpone the wedding. What? Sasha jumps up. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I can't marry someone who lies to me and treats their family like garbage. I need time to figure out if this is who you really are, or if this is who you become when you're scared. And if I can't change, if this is who I really am, then we're not right for each other. My mum starts crying for real now. This is all your fault, Yesenia. You've ruined everything. No, Rosalie says sharply. Yesenia didn't ruin anything. She saved her sister's life and then told the truth when her family tried to erase her for it. If that ruined something, then it deserved to be ruined. So, what do you want from us? My dad asks. An apology. I want you to stop trying to buy my silence, I say. I want you to stop treating me like I'm something to be ashamed of, and I want you to acknowledge that what I did mattered. Of course it mattered, my mum says. Then act like it. Sasha sits back down heavily. What if I can't? What if I can't stop being ashamed? Then that's your problem to work on, I tell her. But it's not my problem to hide from anymore. Rosalie stands up. I think we've said everything that needs to be said. Emerson, why don't you take some time to think about what you want to do? Sasha, I suggest you do the same. What about the wedding? Sasha asks. What about it? All the deposits, the venue, the guests. Those are details. The real question is whether you want to marry my son badly enough to become the kind of person who deserves him. After everyone leaves, I'm sitting in Rosalie's kitchen while she makes tea. How do you feel? She asks. Exhausted? Relieved? Scared? Scared of what? That I just destroyed my family for good. Yes, Nia, your family destroyed itself when they chose image over integrity. You just refused to be complicit in the destruction. So, what happens now? Now you get to decide who you want to be. Do you want to be the person who hides in the shadows to make other people comfortable? Or do you want to be the person who stands in the light and owns her story? I want to stand in the light. Good. Because I still want you to be the guest of honour at our gala. Even if it means Sasha and Emerson don't get back together? Especially if it means that my son deserves someone who's proud to be with him, not someone who's ashamed of her own story. 2 weeks later, I'm standing on a stage in front of 300 people, wearing a beautiful dress that Rosalie bought for me, telling my story to a room full of strangers who are hanging on every word. Living donation isn't just about the surgery, I say into the microphone. It's about what happens after. It's about whether the people you love honour your sacrifice or try to hide it. It's about whether you let them hide it or whether you stand up and say, this matters, what I did matters, and I matter. The applause is thunderous. In the audience, I can see Tiffany wiping away tears. Rosalie is beaming with pride. Emerson is there too, alone, clapping harder than anyone. Sasha isn't there. Neither are my parents. But for the first time in 8 months, I'm okay with that. After my speech, a woman approaches me. She's about my age, with a scar on her neck. I gave my brother part of my liver, she says. He hasn't spoken to me since the surgery because he says it makes him feel guilty. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be proud, because watching you up there just gave me the courage to stop apologizing for saving his life. She walks away, and I realize this is what Rosalie meant about standing in the light. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Sasha. I watched your speech online. You were amazing. I'm sorry for everything. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm going to try to become someone who does. I don't text back right away. Maybe I will eventually, maybe I won't. But for the first time since this whole thing started, that's my choice to make. And that feels like victory enough.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline Wilson. It's Christmas Eve, and I'm sitting all alone in my apartment, just staring at my phone. The screen is black, but I can still see the 5 missed calls from my mom. I already know what they're about. Probably something new and amazing that my sister Julie has done. You know how some families have a golden child. Well, in my family, that's Julie. She might as well wear a crown. Everything she does is treated like a big deal. Last week at dinner, Mom looked at me and said, "Jacqueline, why can't you be more like your sister?" She just closed another big client deal. What Mom didn't mention is that I was the one who actually arranged that meeting. Julie just walked in, smiled, and took all the credit like always. I said nothing out loud, but inside I was thinking, maybe I don't get praise because I'm the one doing the real work, not just showing off. Since Dad passed away 6 years ago, I've started to feel invisible. Nobody notices what I do. I graduated top of my class in business administration from NUI. Julie? She barely got through community college. But guess who got a brand new BMW as a graduation gift? Not me. When I asked about it, Mom just smiled and said, "Sweetheart, Julie needs to keep up a certain image for her social group. You understand, right? You're the practical one." That phrase, the practical one, has become my label. It's just another way of saying, we don't have to impress anyone with you. But the moment that really broke me happened just last month. We went on a family bonding trip to Prachwap Kirikon. Mom had insisted, saying, "We need to stay close as a family." I thought it might be a chance to reconnect. I was wrong. When we got to the resort, there was a problem with the booking. Only one suite was available. Mom clutched her fancy designer purse and said, "They only have one room left." I watched Julie roll her expensive Louis Vuitton suitcase toward the elevator. She looked back at me with a smirk and said, "Don't worry, Jacqueline. The car park has great views of the ocean." I looked at Mom in shock. "You want me to sleep in the car?" I asked. "Jacqueline, don't be difficult," she said with a sigh. "You know things have been tight since your father passed. Julie needs proper rest before the charity brunch tomorrow." And just like that, I realized something. In this family, I'm not the favorite. I'm the fallback. The one who's expected to understand, stay quiet, and make sacrifices. But tonight, sitting here alone on Christmas Eve, I'm starting to think maybe I don't want to play that role anymore. They said she was networking with potential investors, and that's why the budget was tight. But I knew better. Mom had just bought a new pair of Louboutin heels. I saw the receipt on her desk, $1,200 for shoes. And yet, they told me there wasn't enough money for a second hotel room. That night, I sat curled up in the back seat of my old Honda Civic with a travel pillow behind my neck. I was cold, tired, and done pretending everything was okay. Right then, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't let them walk all over me anymore. I wasn't going to be the family's doormat. I pulled out my laptop and opened a file I had been putting off for months, my business plan. It was an idea I'd been working on in silence, a tech startup focused on financial security systems. Something useful, something smart, something Dad would have been proud of. The next morning, I walked into the hotel lobby, holding my laptop. Julie strolled by in a designer sundress, perfectly styled as always. She glanced at me and rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Jacqueline, you look awful. Is that what you're wearing to brunch?" I didn't even flinch. "Actually, I have work to do," I said, holding my laptop a little tighter. Mom gave her usual sigh. "Always the boring one. This is why you'll never get anywhere, Jacqueline. No connections. No charm." But they had no idea. They didn't know I'd been coding since college. They didn't know I'd been building a working prototype of a brand new security system while quietly doing the paperwork at the family business. They thought I was just the quiet girl with no ambition.
Good.
Let them think that. I glanced at my phone again. Another missed call from Mom, the fourth one. Probably about the upcoming New Year's gala where Julie would once again be shown off like a trophy. But I didn't care anymore. Let them have their parties and fake smiles. While they focused on their image, I was building something real. Something solid. Dad used to say, success is the best revenge. He also told me to stay quiet, pay attention, and wait for the right moment. Well, Dad, I've been watching for 6 years. I've seen the sneaky comments, the credit Julie stole from my work, the way they dismissed me with fake kindness. But I've kept every note. I've remembered every moment. They think I'm just the boring, quiet one. That's fine with me, because the truth is, I'm about to shake up their perfect little world. And they won't see it coming. Sometimes, it's the quiet ones who change everything. And trust me, my moment is coming. Every night I spent being ignored, every insult they thought I didn't notice, it's all going to lead to something big. This time, I'm not waiting for their approval. I'm building something they can't take from me. I was at my desk late one evening, going over some numbers, when something unusual caught my attention. A pattern in the money transfers didn't match our normal business activities. I leaned in closer, my eyes scanning the lines of data. That's when I heard her voice behind me. "Still here? Don't you have anything better to do?" It was Julie, my sister, and she had that usual smug smile on her face. She leaned against my cubicle, her expensive designer purse hanging off her arm, clearly ready for another fancy night out. "Just finishing up the Henderson account," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Oh, that," she replied, flipping her hair. "I already told the board I finished it." I froze. "You what?" I asked, trying to stay composed. "I've been working on that account for weeks." Julie rolled her eyes. "Please," she said. "Like they believe you did it. Everyone knows you're barely holding it together." Her voice was sharp, her tone full of fake sweetness. Then she added, "Remember when you lost the Wilson contract?" How could I forget? I had worked so hard to land that contract, only for the documents to disappear from my desk. A week later, they magically showed up in Julie's files with her name on them. She took all the credit and no one questioned it. Later that night, after Julie left, I stayed at the office. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. So I dug deeper into the financial records. And that's when I found it. Tiny money transfers, always small, always regular. All of them going to a bank account in the Maldives. The amounts were small enough not to raise alarms, but added together, they were huge. Something shady was definitely going on. Just then, I heard a voice behind me and jumped. "What are you doing here so late?" asked Adam, the night security guard. I quickly closed my laptop. "Just catching up on work," I said, trying to stay calm. "Oh, your mom dropped off some files for tomorrow morning's meeting. Want me to bring them over?" I nodded. When Adam handed me the files, I opened them out of curiosity and instantly felt sick. Inside were documents that told the full story. There were consulting fees approved by Mom for fake companies. Julie's travel expenses showed she went on business trips that never happened. It was all for 6 years of lies, theft, and cover-ups. They had been stealing from Dad's company, the one he built from scratch. The next morning, Julie walked into the office late as usual, sipping a fancy latte. "Emergency board meeting in an hour," she said with a smirk. "Try not to embarrass yourself again." I just nodded. But inside, I was ready. This time, I had proof. And the truth was finally going to come out. I sat quietly at the boardroom table, watching the same old show play out. Julie stood at the front, all smiles and confidence, as she spoke to the board. "The Bangkok expansion is going perfectly, just like we planned," she said, glowing with pride. Except those weren't her plans. Every word she said came straight from my research. She had copied my work, again. "Excellent work, Julie," Mom said, beaming like a proud teacher. Then she looked at me. "Jacqueline, try to stay awake during these important discussions." I kept my head down and acted like I was just doodling on my notepad. But I wasn't. My phone was hidden beneath the table, secretly recording every word. Then, without warning, Mom dropped a surprise on me. "The board has raised some concerns," she said, her voice calm and steady. "There are certain problems in our expense accounts." I looked up fast. My heart started pounding. "It seems someone has been making purchases without permission," she continued. "Jacqueline, do you want to explain these charges?" She slid a printed sheet across the table. I picked it up, eyes scanning the list. My stomach sank. The charges were fake, but they were made to look like I had done them. Everything was detailed, organized, and made to frame me. "These aren't mine," I said quickly, my voice shaky. "The evidence says otherwise," Mom replied smoothly, her face cold. Julie leaned in with a cruel smile. "A shopping spree with company money?
Wow.
Dad would be so disappointed." That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in the office and got to work. I created a secure folder on my personal server. Into that folder, I uploaded everything I had been collecting: fake reports, strange money transfers, false receipts. Every single piece was saved, named, and time-stamped. 6 years of secrets and lies, all in digital form. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Julie. "The board is thinking about suspending you. Shouldn't have tried to play in the big leagues, little sis." I stared at her message and smiled. She thought she had won. She didn't know I had the records of their offshore accounts. She didn't know I had followed every dollar they tried to hide, just like Dad taught me before he passed away. Another message popped up. This one from Mom. "Family dinner tomorrow. We need to talk about your future with the company."
Perfect.
Let them think they've won. Let them believe I'm weak. What they didn't know was that I had made copies of every file they thought they deleted. Every email. Every payment. Every cover-up. I had it all. Weeks later, the truth would come out. And when it did, they wouldn't see it coming. I sat in a bright, modern conference room, far away from my family's company. Across the table was Mr. Bradley, the CEO of a large tech firm. He looked at me with a warm smile. "We're excited to invest $10 million in your security software, Miss Wilson. Your fraud detection system is truly one of a kind," he said. I smiled back, thinking of how I had learned everything I needed from my time at the family business. Without knowing it, they had been the perfect test subjects. Watching their shady behavior had helped me design a tool that could catch fraud early and accurately. Back at the office, I still pretended to be the quiet, average sister. No one knew I had already written my resignation letter. I was just waiting for the right moment to submit it. Julie stormed into my cubicle, as usual, holding a stack of files. "Did you finish these reports?" she asked, dropping them on my desk like she owned the place. "Almost," I replied calmly. "How's the Robertson account?" She tossed her hair. "Closed it yesterday. Mom's throwing a dinner tonight to celebrate my promotion to COO. Try to wear something nice for once, will you?" That evening, we met at LabLink, our family's favorite fancy restaurant. I sat at the table, watching everything unfold like a movie I had already seen 100 times. "To our new chief operating officer," Mom announced, raising her champagne glass. "Julie, your father would have been so proud." "Thanks, Mommy," Julie said sweetly, full of herself. Then she looked at me. "I just wish certain people knew what real success looked like." I took a sip of water and said calmly, "The Robertson account really was impressive." Julie lit up with pride.
See?
"Even Jacqueline can admit greatness when she sees it. Especially since you used my proposal word for word," I added, including the fake typo I left on page 4. For a few seconds, no one said a thing. The silence in the room felt heavy. "Don't be ridiculous," Mom snapped. "Julie worked hard on that presentation." "Oh, really?" I asked. "When did she do that? Between her spa trip on Friday and her 5-hour lunch on Sunday?" "You're just jealous," Julie said sharply. "You always have been. You'll never be more than a glorified secretary." I reached into my bag, pulled out an envelope, and placed it on the table. "Actually," I said, "this is my resignation." The laughter started right away. "Resignation?" Julie said, rolling her eyes. "To do what?" Mom asked, her voice full of fake concern. "Where will you even go, Jacqueline? Who would hire you?" I looked at them and smiled. They had no idea what was coming. I stood up slowly, placed cash on the table for the dinner I didn't even touch, and looked at both of them. My voice was calm. "Thank you for making everything so clear over the years. And congratulations, Julie, on the promotion. I'm sure you'll get exactly what you deserve." As I turned to walk away, I heard Mom's voice behind me, sharp and bitter. "Running away again? Typical Jacqueline. Always a disappointment."
I didn't respond.
I just kept walking. Once I got into my car, I checked my phone. There it was, an email from my investors. The contract was ready for me to sign, and the office space had been secured. Everything was falling into place. At home, I opened my laptop and added tonight's dinner to my digital evidence file. I had been keeping notes for years, recordings, emails, screenshots, fake documents. Let them laugh. Let them think I was weak and walking away in shame. What they didn't know was that this was all part of the plan. My phone buzzed again. A message from Julie popped up. Pathetic. Trying to get attention. Come back when you grow up. Another message came right after, this time from Mom. Your father would be ashamed of you. I glanced at the photo on my desk. It was Dad and me on the day I graduated college. He was proud of me then. He'd be proud of me now. Don't worry, Dad, I whispered. I've learned exactly how they work. And soon, everyone else will know too. The next morning, I walked into my brand new office. My team was already there, setting up. The software I had spent years building was finally ready. The patent was pending, and our first major client was about to sign. Later that week, I sipped coffee in my sunny corner office and glanced at the tablet on my desk. A headline jumped out at me in bold letters. Breaking news. Wilson Industries executives charged with embezzlement. Mother and daughter accused of stealing millions. My anonymous tip had started a full federal investigation. The documents I had quietly collected over 6 years helped the forensic accountants trace every dollar. Every lie was now out in the open. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Miss Wilson, your mother and sister are in the lobby. Security knows what to do. I replied without looking up. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages. Please, we need to talk. They're freezing our accounts. Your sister made mistakes, but we're still family. Just 10 minutes. I didn't reply. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Let them feel what it's like to be ignored. The Society News was full of updates. Prominent socialite De Wilson and daughter Julie removed from charity board. Wilson family scandal shocks business world. Former COO Julie Wilson seen leaving court after assets frozen. Later that night, Julie's voice cracked through a phone call I didn't answer. You've ruined us, she said. I smiled.
No, Julie. You ruined yourselves.
She finally got through to me using an unknown number. Her voice sounded tired and angry. We're nothing to you now, are you happy? She asked. I took a deep breath and replied, actually, yes. I am. Karma has a strange way of showing up, I added. We're still your family, she said softly, almost begging. I stayed quiet for a moment, then said, real family doesn't make their daughter sleep in a car while they stay in a fancy hotel. Real family doesn't take credit for her hard work. Real family doesn't frame her for crimes they committed themselves. We've changed, she whispered. Please. We need you. No, I said firmly. You don't need me. You need my money. There's a big difference. And with that, I ended the call and blocked the number. I didn't feel sad. I felt free. I turned to the large window in my office and watched the sunset. The sky was painted with gold and orange, and the city lights started to glow. It was peaceful. On my desk sat a framed newspaper article with the headline, "Rising Tech CEO Jacqueline Wilson's software changes the game in fraud detection." I looked at the picture of myself beside it and smiled. I had made it.
My phone buzzed again.
One last message. It was from Adam, the night security guard for my old job. Saw the news. Your dad would be proud. I smiled even wider. Adam had always been kind, and he remembered the man who believed in me more than anyone else ever did. As I sat there, I thought back to everything that had happened. What would you do if your own family had tried to ruin your life? If they had used you, ignored you, and lied about you? If they had stolen your work, your ideas, and millions of dollars, and made you look like the villain? Would you scream and fight back right away? Or would you do what I did, stay quiet, watch carefully, and collect every single piece of proof? I chose the second path. For years, I worked hard in silence. I watched. I gathered files. I saved emails. I copied every document they thought they had destroyed. And at the same time, I worked on something of my own. Something they never expected. Now, my name was known for something good, something I built from scratch. They tried to break me, but instead, they taught me how strong I really am. The truth always comes out in the end. And sometimes, the best kind of justice is quiet, steady, and powerful. Just like me. My brother's loud laugh fills the dining room while I stare at the $50 Home Depot gift card in my hands. It's not even enough to buy good paintbrushes, let alone the special tools I need for my restoration work. Thanks, I say, though the word feels bitter in my mouth. My mother smiles brightly at the twins, who are both wearing matching Cartier watches, birthday gifts from last month. Well, we know how practical you are, Joan. This way you can pick out exactly what you need. My name is Joyce.
Not Joan. Never Joan.
But I stopped correcting her years ago. Mike and Justin are already talking about their new golf clubs, heads close together like little boys with a secret. The price tags are still hanging on the bags, $5,000 each. The same amount I needed for the art restoration workshop in Naples. Speaking of practical, my dad says, fixing his tie, the boys just closed their first big deals at the firm, following right in my footsteps. He lifts his whiskey glass to the Richard legacy. Everyone raises their glasses, except Natalie Dawson. She looks at me from across the table with eyes that say she understands. She sees me gripping my wine glass so tightly that my knuckles are white. And what about Joyce's work on the Thompson portrait? Natalie Dawson says, her voice cutting through the room. That was quite an achievement, wasn't it? My mother waves it off like it's nothing. Oh, yes, the painting thing. Very nice, dear. Then she turns back to the twins. Now tell everyone about that merger you're working on. Paul, my boyfriend, squeezes my knee under the table. I know what he wants, for me to speak up, to ask for the credit I deserve. But after 31 years of being ignored, I've learned that speaking out just leaves you feeling empty. Actually, I say, standing up, I should get going. I have an early meeting tomorrow. It's a lie. I just can't sit here another minute. Justin looks up, surprised. Sometimes I really think he has no idea how they treat me. But we haven't had cake yet. Save me a slice. I force a smile as I grab my coat and purse. Paul starts to stand up, but I shake my head a little. Someone should stay and watch this perfect family moment. Mom and Dad proudly standing next to their favorite sons while the forgotten daughter quietly walks away. Natalie Dawson touches my arm as I pass. Remember what I told you, she whispers. Sometimes, quiet revenge feels the best. I kiss her cheek and breathe in her soft lavender scent. She slips an envelope into my hand. Happy birthday, my dear. Open it when you get home. The drive home is a blur of lights and tears I won't let fall. Back in my apartment, I finally open the envelope. Inside is a check for $60,000 and a short note. To restore what matters most, your spirit. They'll never see it coming. I sit on the couch, hands shaking as I hold the check. My phone lights up with messages from Paul, but I don't answer. Instead, I open my laptop and find an old email draft, an application for a top art restoration job at the Broad in Los Angeles. For years, I've been the good daughter, quietly accepting their coldness like bitter medicine. But Natalie was right. Quiet revenge really does feel better. I hit send on the application. Inside me, something shifts. It feels like the first crack in an old painting, showing the hidden pain beneath the surface. Let them have their picture-perfect family. I'll make my own masterpiece step by step until they realize what they lost. And by then, it'll be too late. As I run my finger over the gold frame of the Rembrandt I'm restoring, my mother's voice comes through the speaker phone. We're going to the Woody Creek house this Christmas, darling. The whole family will be there. Even the boys are taking time off from the firm. Always about the boys. I have work here, I say, carefully fixing a small patch of color on the painting. The museum has a few pieces that need me. Joyce, this is family, she snaps, cutting off my excuse. Your father already arranged the jet. The twins are bringing their girlfriends. It'll be just like old times. Old times? Like when they left me behind at the Museum of Neon Art during a family trip because Mike had a tennis game. I was 17. A guard found me drawing alone in a closed hall. I'll think about it, I say. And bring Paul. He's such a nice young man. Though I still don't get why he doesn't work for a real agency. What is that freelance thing he does? My phone buzzes again, Paul calling. I have to go, Mom. A client's calling. Before she can say anything else, I hang up. Save me. I said that. I ask. Paul's voice feels calm, like something soft on a burn. I just got an interesting email, he says. You might want to come over when you're done. Later, at his apartment, Paul shows me his laptop. It's an email from my dad's company. They're asking for ideas to rebrand their entire image. The budget is huge. And you're thinking about doing it? I ask, feeling sick at the thought of Paul working with my father. Think about it, Judy, he says. This could give us access, files, client lists, money info. Everything they've built their so-called legacy on. His eyes shine with the idea. I get up and start pacing. That would cross a line. Like they crossed the line with you. For 31 years? He gently grabs my hand and pulls me close. You saw the check from Natalie Dawson. She wants you to fight back. This might be your chance. Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. It's Justin. Justin. Hey sis, heard you might skip Woody Creek. Not cool. We need you there so it doesn't bore everyone with golf stories. Second message. Also big news. Family stuff. I show the messages to Paul. He raises an eyebrow. Family stuff? What? Did they finally remember you exist? Justin's a little different, I say. Sometimes he at least tries. Tries to do what?
Paul says sharply.
Let you peek into their perfect world while they hand him everything on a silver plate? You deserve more than their leftovers. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Natalie Dawson. Natalie Dawson. Come see me tomorrow, dear. There are things you need to know before Woody Creek. Paul reads over my shoulder. Now that's interesting. I think about the check in my drawer. The application I sent to the Met. 31 years of being left out. I'll go to Woody Creek, I say. But first, I'm going to hear what Natalie Dawson has to say. Paul pulls up the email again. And my proposal? I stare at my father's company logo on the screen. I remember all those times he took the twins to his office to teach them the business, while I sat at home alone with my art books. Do it, I say. But be careful. If they get suspicious. Trust me, Paul says, kissing my forehead. By the time we're done, they won't know what hit them. That night, I lie awake thinking about Justin's message. Family stuff. Last time there was family stuff, the twins became partners at the firm. Before that, they got matching BMWs for passing the bar exam. My phone lights up with one last message from my mother. Mom, booked your flight. First class, of course. The boys insisted. Of course, they did. In the Richard family, everything is first class, except the daughter, who never quite fit. But frames can be fixed. Or broken beyond repair. I refresh the application page for the Met for the 100th time. Still says under review.
But soon they'll see.
All of them will. I close my eyes. Natalie Dawson's words repeat in my mind. The quietest revenge is the most satisfying. Tomorrow, I'll find out what secrets she's been keeping. And in Woody Creek, we'll see who's really ready for this so-called family moment. Natalie Dawson's hands tremble slightly as she slides a brown folder across her old coffee table. Your father's company isn't as perfect as they pretend, she says. These papers might interest you. Inside, I find financial statements, investment records, and trust fund papers. My eyes stop on the numbers. There are educational trusts set up for the twins, millions of dollars. Private school fees, internships in Europe, fancy sports camps. The list just keeps going. Then I find my name. Only one entry. J. Richard. Art school loan. $35,000. A loan, not a gift. While my brothers had their entire education paid for, I was left with debt. There's more, Natalie says, her voice firmer now. Look at the last page. It's a copy of my father's will, updated just last month. The family's art collection, pieces I've spent years helping restore and take care of, is to be given completely to Mike and Justin. They don't even care about art, I whisper, my fingers tightening around the page. No, they don't, Natalie agrees. She gently takes my hand. But this isn't just about art, is it? My phone buzzes. It's Paul. Paul. Meeting your father's firm in an hour. You were right about the money. Something doesn't add up. How did you even get all this? I ask Natalie. She gives a small smile, but her eyes stay serious. Your grandfather wasn't the only one who knew how to handle the family business. Before he died, he told me he had some concerns about how your father was managing things. Another text from Paul. Found something big. Really big. Call me ASAP. The Woody Creek trip, Natalie continues. There's a reason they want everyone there. Your father is going to announce his retirement. The firm will go to the twins. I laugh, but it sounds empty. Of course it will. But timing is everything, she says. She pulls out another folder. And I think the timing is just right for some truths to come out. Before she can show me more, my phone rings. It's my mother. Joyce, darling. Great news. The boys just closed the Henderson deal. We're having a big dinner to celebrate tonight. You'll come, right? I look down at the papers in my lap. Actually, Mother, I say calmly, I have my own news to share. There's a pause. Her tone changes, already expecting disappointment. I've been accepted into the restoration program at the Broad in Los Angeles. There's a long silence on the line. But what about the family? The firm? Your brothers need. My brothers need what? The words come out before I can stop them. More money? More praise? More pieces of my life to take for themselves. I don't understand why you're being so dramatic, my mother says. We've always supported your little hobby. Hobby? I repeat, standing up and pacing Natalie Dawson's living room. Is that what you call 20 years of hard work? The hours I've spent restoring our family's art collection? The same collection you're giving to the twins. She pauses. How did you? Then stops herself. Who told you about the will? Does it matter? I ask. Were you ever going to tell me the truth? Just then, another text from Paul pops up. Found proof. Your father's been stealing client money for years. My mother's voice sharpens. We'll talk about this in Woody Creek. As a family. Yes, I say, watching Natalie Dawson pull out more papers from a second folder. I suppose we will. I hang up and call Paul. His voice is filled with energy. Judy, this is even bigger than we thought. Your dad's been running a scam for years, using client money to pay for Mike and Justin's lifestyles. He's been hiding it through fake accounts. I look at Natalie Dawson. She gives me a slow nod. He wasn't as smart as he thought, she says. Your grandfather kept records of everything. My phone buzzes again. It's Justin calling, probably to show off about the merger. But this time, I don't feel that old sting of jealousy. I feel something else, something colder, more focused. The Met job starts in January. I tell Natalie Dawson. Right after Woody Creek. She pats my hand. Perfect timing, don't you think? Now let's go through the rest of these documents. I silence my phone and lean forward. It's time to find out just how broken this perfect family really is. And in Woody Creek, they'll finally learn what happens when they push the quiet one too far. The acceptance letter from the Broad sits on my kitchen counter like a warning. Paul paces behind me, full of energy. This is perfect, Judy. Your father's big announcement in Woody Creek, and now we have proof of everything. My phone rings again. It's Justin, for the third time today. You should answer, Paul says. Keep pretending everything is normal. At least until we're ready. I pick up. Justin. Judy, thank God, he says. His voice sounds different, tired, worried. I need to talk to you. Not on the phone. Can we meet? Paul shakes his head, signaling no. But something in Justin's voice makes me stop. When? I ask.
Now.
At the old gallery.
Please, sis.
It's important. An hour later, I walk into the gallery. Justin stands alone, staring at our grandfather's Monet painting. He looks smaller than usual. His normal confidence is gone. I found something, Justin says without turning around. It's about Dad's retirement and the firm. My heart starts beating faster. What about it? The Henderson merger, it's fake.
He finally looks at me.
His eyes are red. The whole thing's a lie. Dad's been moving client money around for years, hiding losses. When he announces his retirement in Woody Creek, he's planning to disappear with everything. The room feels like it's spinning. And the twins will be left with a mess? I whisper. Exactly. Justin runs his hand through his hair. Mike doesn't know yet. He still thinks everything's fine. He glances at the Monet painting. Did you know Dad already sold this? And half the collection too? My hands curl into fists. When? Last month, right after he changed his will. Justin laughs, but it's cold and sad. I guess he figured if he's going down, he'd take everyone with him. My phone buzzes. It's Paul asking where I am. I ignore it. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Justin steps closer and lowers his voice. Because you are the only one who ever saw through all of it. The golden twins, the perfect sons, it was never real. We were just background pieces in their game.
His voice shakes.
And now you want my help? I want to fix this, he says. He pulls out a USB drive. Everything's on here, fake accounts, missing money, property scams. Help me stop him before Woody Creek. Before he disappears. I look down at the drive. Paul's voice rings in my head. Keep up appearances until we're ready. But whose plan am I really following? Justin grabs my arm. There's more. About Paul. The gallery door swings open. Paul walks in, his face serious. Sorry I'm late, Judy. Justin, what a surprise. Justin holds on to my arm tighter. Tell her, he says to Paul. Tell her who really planned the Henderson merger. Paul steps forward, smiles sharp and cold. Careful, Justin. Some truths are better left hidden. Like how you've been working with your dad this whole time. Justin's words hit hard. He's lying. Paul has been playing both sides, setting up his own way out. I step back, confused, everything falling apart around me.
Paul.
Don't listen to him, Paul says quickly. He's desperate. Trying to turn you against me. The proof is on the drive, Justin says. It also shows Paul's hidden accounts. He's been stealing for months. I look at the Monet again. Another beautiful painting hiding something ugly. Just like everything in my life. My phone buzzes again. A message from my mother. Darling, your father needs to speak with you immediately. It's about the firm. I look at both of them, Justin and Paul. One says he's protecting me. The other claims to love me. But either could be lying. The acceptance letter from the Met is in my bag, burning like a secret. My way out. But whose escape is it now? Paul reaches for me. Everything I did was for us. I step back.
No.
Everything you did was for you. Then I take the USB drive from Justin. I'm going to Woody Creek, I tell both of them. But not for either of you. Outside, the cold air stings my face. I take out my phone and start to call Natalie Dawson, but I pause. How many more lies am I about to discover? The USB drive feels heavy in my pocket as I walk away from the gallery, leaving both men behind. In the glass window, the Monet reflects back at me, another beautiful lie in a family full of them. Woody Creek is coming fast. And now I have 3 different versions of the truth to sort through before my dad makes his big announcement. The question is, who am I really about to destroy? On my laptop, I open the USB drive. Spreadsheets, bank records, and emails appear like a map leading straight to disaster. My father's name is on everything, and next to his signature is another name I know too well, Paul Pogba, financial consultant. My phone lights up again, Paul. He's called 18 times since I left the gallery. A knock at my door makes me quickly shut the laptop. I look through the peephole. It's Mike, still in his work suit. I know you're in there, Judy, he says. Justin told me everything. I open the door, but don't let him in. Did he tell you about Paul?
Mike looks confused.
I'm here about Dad. The Henderson deal? It's fake. I know that now. He runs a hand through his hair, and for a moment, he looks just like Justin. It makes my chest hurt.
There's more, he says.
Mom's involved too. The hospital board is looking into missing money, and her name is connected to Dad's hidden accounts. The room spins a little.
What?
They're planning something in Woody Creek. Justin thinks. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's Natalie Dawson. Come quickly. Your mother is here. I have to go, I tell Mike. Judy, wait. He grabs my arm. Whatever you're planning with Paul, don't. He's not who you think he is. At Natalie Dawson's house, I find my mother sitting in the parlor. She looks calm, but her hands are shaking. The broad called me, she says without warning, about your application. I stop in my tracks. How did they? Paul contacted them, she says. He told them he had concerns about your mental health. She sets her teacup down. He gave them details about your anger toward the family. The betrayal hits me like a punch. He wouldn't. Oh, sweetheart, she says with a cold smile. Men like Paul don't love people like us. They use us. Just like you used me. I snap, the words coming out before I can stop them. To make the twins look better. To cover your own lies. Natalie Dawson steps forward. Cheryl. Stay out of this, Mother, my mom says, standing up. Her sharp, practiced voice returns. You've meddled enough. First with those documents, and now with exposing your fraud. I take out the USB drive, the one that holds proof of Dad's plan to run away with everything. Something changes in my mom's eyes.
Fear.
Where did you get that? She asks. Does it matter? I say. The truth is coming out in Woody Creek anyway. Is that what Justin told you? She says with a soft laugh. Oh, Joyce, you still don't see it, do you? What are you talking about? Justin and Paul have been working together since the beginning. They needed someone with access to the family's weak spots. Someone angry enough to be used. My phone buzzes again. One final text from Paul. Check your email. I'm sorry. With shaking hands, I open my inbox. There it is, my Met application. Forwarded to every major gallery and museum in the country. Along with it, a file full of accusations. My family's financial problems and claims about my mental health. The art show you were planning, my mother says. The one where you'd reveal everything? Paul already sold the story. He called it The Neglected Daughter's Revenge, about a broken family and a dramatic downfall. It's going to make him very famous. Natalie Dawson steps toward me to offer comfort, but I step back. You knew? I ask. Not everything, she whispers. But enough. I needed you to see it for yourself. My phone buzzes again. Email after email. Galleries canceling. Museums pulling back. My future falling apart with each message. We leave for Woody Creek tomorrow, my mother says calmly. You have a choice, Joyce. Come with us, help clean this up, and we'll deal with Paul together. Or stay here and let him ruin everything, including you. I look at both of them. My mother, cold and controlled. Natalie Dawson, soft but full of secrets. Then I see my own reflection in the dark window, blurred and broken by the fading light. The USB drive in my pocket feels heavier than ever. It's full of truth, but whose truth? And what would it cost to use it? I'll see you in Woody Creek, I say at last. My mother nods. Her face shows a mix of pride and something that looks like regret. As she leaves, Natalie Dawson touches my arm. Remember, she whispers, sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves. I watch my mother's car disappear into the night, my mind already turning, planning what comes next. Because in the Richard family, the truth is just another masterpiece, meant to be restored or completely broken. And I'm done being someone else's canvas. The Woody Creek house stands tall ahead of me, its windows glowing in the sunset like cold, judging eyes. Inside, I hear laughter. The Richard family reunion is already happening. I touch the USB drive in my coat pocket and climb the steps. Justin opens the door before I can knock. You came. Not for you, I say. The big room goes quiet as everyone turns to look. I walk into the room. My father stands by the fireplace, holding a drink. My mother sits on the arm of his chair, looking calm and proud. The perfect power couple. Mike stands near the window, avoiding my eyes. Joyce, my father says loudly. We were just talking about the Henderson merger. Were you? I ask, stepping closer. I notice his hand tightening around his glass. Or were you talking about Paul's book deal? My mother gasps. How did you? I hold up my phone. Paul sent me the draft this morning. The title? The Art of Deception. Inside America's Most Corrupt Family.
Catchy, isn't it?
It's all lies, my father says, but he looks pale now. Is it? I ask, looking around the room. Offshore accounts, Mom's hospital fraud, the fake merger. What part is a lie? Justin steps forward. Judy, let me explain. Explain what? I say. How you and Paul used me. Or how you both plan to run away with Dad's money after tomorrow's announcement. Mike turns to Justin, shocked. Justin. I laugh, but it sounds sharp and painful. Oh, he didn't tell you that part? Your twin's been working with Paul for months. They needed someone inside the family, and who better than the golden boy? That's enough, my father says, putting down his glass. This ends now. You're right, I say, pulling out the USB drive. It does end now. But before I can say more, the door opens again. Paul walks in, with 3 men in suits behind him. Sorry I'm late, he says, walking to stand beside my father. Airport traffic was a nightmare. My mother stands up, calm as ever. Paul has been helping us prepare for tomorrow's big announcement. Haven't you, dear? The room spins. It all hits me at once. They were all in on it. Every one of them. The book deal, I whisper. The museum rejection. The leaked documents, it was all a setup. Paul nods. A test. To see how far you go for revenge. Your father wanted to know if you could be trusted with the real family business. And you failed, my mother says coldly. Just like always. The 3 men in suits step forward. One reaches for the USB drive in my hand. They're federal agents, my father says. Here to arrest whoever tried to harm the firm. You can't do this. We can, Justin says. And we will. Unless. My father picks up a document from the fireplace mantel. Unless you sign this, he says. Give up your rights to the family trust. Agree to check into a private hospital for treatment. If you do that, he says calmly, this all goes away. I look around the room one last time. At my mother's cold control, my father's careful planning, the twins' fake innocence, and at Paul, who taught me everything about revenge, except how to spot it when it's aimed at me. There's one thing you forgot, I say, taking out my phone. And what's that? My father asks. I press play. His voice fills the room, his full confession to Paul in the gallery last week. Then Justin's voice, planning their escape. And finally, my mother admitting to the hospital fraud. I learned from the best, I say as their faces turn pale. And I learned one rule, never trust anyone completely. Before they can react, the real federal agents burst into the room. In seconds, handcuffs click into place. I turn to leave, stopping when I see Natalie Dawson standing in the doorway. She mouths, "Well done." That's when I understand. She planned this all along. She used their own tricks to take them down. Outside, snow begins to fall, covering the Richard family's perfect image in cold, white silence. Tomorrow, the headlines will tear that image apart. But tonight, standing in the dark mountain air, I wonder, does winning feel like winning? Or is it just another kind of revenge? 7 months later, applause echoes through the Broad's Grand Hall. I'm standing at the front, accepting the Restoration Excellence Award. My name finally stands on its own. Miss Richards' work on the newly discovered Vermeer shows incredible talent, the presenter says. Her techniques have changed how we understand art restoration. At the back of the room, I spot Paul slipping in, wearing the same smug smile he had in Woody Creek. Mike is behind him. Then Justin. My hands tighten on the podium. "Thank you," I say, cutting the presenter short. "But I'd like to share something about restoration." The crowd goes quiet. In the front row, Natalie Dawson gives me a small nod. "Sometimes," I say, "what looks broken is actually showing its true form. Like this painting." I point to the Vermeer behind me. For years, people thought it was a fake, damaged on purpose. But the truth was always there, just hidden. Paul steps forward, his smile fading. "My family's law firm said they helped people rebuild their lives. My mother's clinic promised to fix broken bodies. But both were lies, hiding corruption under perfect surfaces." Gasps ripple through the audience. Journalists lean forward. "What they didn't understand about restoration is simple," I continue. "You can't fake what's real. Every brushstroke tells the truth." I meet Paul's eyes. Every betrayal leaves a mark. He reaches into his jacket. Security moves in, ready. "The fall of the Richard family wasn't just about stolen money," I say. "It was about what it costs to pretend everything's perfect." "That's enough," Paul says sharply. "You've made your point. Have I?" I ask, staring straight at him. I step away from the podium. "Tell them about the book deal, Paul," I say. "Tell them how you played both sides, how you sold out everyone for your own revenge." "You don't understand," he starts, but Justin cuts him off. "Show them the real contract, Paul," Justin says loudly. "The one you signed with our father before everything fell apart." Paul turns to him quickly. "You said you destroyed that." "I lied," Justin replies, pulling out his phone. "Just like you lied about helping Judy, about helping any of us." The contract appears on the big screen. Paul's name is right next to my father's. It's dated years before I ever met Paul. Their plan had been to take down the Richard family from the inside. "You needed me broken," I say quietly. "You wanted me angry enough to turn on my own family. But you didn't count on one thing." Paul looks bitter. "Natalie Dawson," he mutters. She stands tall, graceful even at 85. "I taught Joyce the most important lesson about restoration," she says calmly. "Sometimes, to save something valuable, you have to remove everything fake first." Security moves closer as Paul reaches into his jacket. But instead of a weapon, he pulls out a gallery contract, the rights to my family story. "You still need me," he says. "Your reputation, your success, it's built on this story." The brave artist who Dawson after her family's betrayal. I turn to the Vermeer behind me and gently face it toward the crowd. "Look closely," I say. "What do you see?" People lean in, studying the painting. "The damage," I explain, "wasn't hidden. It was made part of the restoration. The cracks, the wear, the age, it's all part of its beauty now. It's truth." Then I look at Paul one last time. "I don't need your version of my story. I'm not a fake waiting to be uncovered. I'm every crack, every scar, every hard truth that made me whole." As security takes Paul away, Mike and Justin walk up to the stage. We stand together, 3 damaged parts of a family finally seeing each other for who we really are. The thing about restoration, I say to the quiet crowd, is that it's not about making something new. It's about honoring what's left. And sometimes, what remains is more beautiful than what was lost. This time, The applause feels real, not for a perfect story, but for the truth behind it. As I leave the stage, Natalie Dawson takes my hand. "Ready for what comes next?" she asks. I glance back at the Vermeer, full of beautiful flaws. "Yes," I say. "I finally am." The restored Vermeer now hangs in the center of my first solo exhibition. Its damaged beauty draws quiet whispers from the visitors. Next to it, photos tell the real story of my family, the Richard family, once perfect on the outside, now cracked open. My mother's medical license, revoked. My father's mugshot from prison. Paul's confession, printed in the Los Angeles Times. Each image is like a brushstroke in this final piece of restoration. "You've made quite a statement," Natalie Dawson says softly beside me, though I have a feeling this isn't the full truth either. I touch the frame of the Vermeer. "There's something I never told you about this painting," I say. "It's not actually damaged." I run my fingers over the cracked surface. "These marks, they're not mistakes. The artist made them on purpose. To show that beauty isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest." Mike walks up, with Justin close behind. Without our parents towering over them, they both seem smaller somehow. "We found more papers," Mike says quietly. "They explain why Dad always chose us." "I don't want to know," I reply. "You should," Justin says, handing me an old envelope. "It's about Grandpa's will. The real one. Inside is a letter, written before I was born. My grandfather's handwriting is clear and sharp. To my first grandchild goes everything, the firm, the art, the legacy, unless that child is a daughter. He told Dad he'd be cut off if he didn't keep the business in the hands of a son," Mike says. "That's why they tried to break you." I tighten my hand around the letter. "Make me doubt myself until I walked away from my claim." "Jewels," Justin says, gently touching my hand. "We didn't know. Not until now." A noise near the door catches our attention. My parents are entering the gallery, surrounded by their lawyers. My mother looks tired, her usual control replaced by quiet defeat. My father walks slowly, no longer the strong figure he used to be. "They're not allowed in here," Mike says, stepping forward. I stop him. "Let them see." They walk through the exhibition, looking at each photo and truth that now lines the walls. When they reach the Vermeer, my father raises his hand to touch it, then lets it fall. "You restored it," he says without looking at me, "just like you restored the truth." "No," I say, stepping beside him. "I didn't fix it. I just stopped hiding the damage." My mother speaks softly, her voice breaking. "We thought we were protecting you." "From what?" I ask. "From success? From love? From becoming something better than what you were?" Natalie Dawson steps forward, her presence strong and steady. "There's one more thing you should know, Joyce," she says. She hands me an old photo, her as a young woman, standing in front of a painting that looks just like the Vermeer. "Your grandfather didn't write that will," she says. "I did. To show him how it feels when someone tries to control your life with fear." The lights in the gallery seem to dim, as if focusing on just us in front of the painting that started it all. "So, this was your revenge?" I ask, using me to destroy what he built. "No, dear," she says, taking my hand. "This wasn't revenge. This was your restoration. I only gave you the tools." As security leads my parents out, I look at the Vermeer one last time. In its cracked surface, I see all of us. The perfect family we never were. The broken one we became. And something new beginning to form from the cracks. "What happens now?" Justin asks. I think of Paul in prison still believing he was in control. Of my parents, facing their actions. Of the legacy built on fear. And I say, we stop trying to fix what was broken. We build something new instead. I tell them it's time to start something new. The gallery lights grow brighter, lighting up the whole room. Critics praise the work, calling it technically brilliant, full of emotion, and brave in how it shows the truth. But they miss what really matters. The true masterpiece is right in front of them. 3 siblings standing side by side, finally seeing each other clearly. Natalie Dawson quietly slips away, leaving behind one last note. The most beautiful restorations don't hide the damage. They turn it into something new. I look at my brothers and at our reflection in the Vermeer's shining surface. In the painting's flaws, on purpose and clear, I see our future. Not perfect, not fully healed, but real. And ours. The damage is still there. But now, it tells a different story.
The note was sitting on my kitchen counter like a little pink grenade, waiting to explode my entire world. Pearl, can't wait to turn your cute little cave into my new home gym. Thanks for keeping it warm for me. XOXO, Nora. My name is Pearl, and I've been living in the basement of my parents' house for 10 years. Not because I'm some loser who can't make it on her own, but because I'm the responsible daughter. The one who pays rent every month. The one who turned a muddy, spider-infested storage space into something that actually resembles a home. I crumpled the note and threw it across my living room, watching it bounce off the built-in bookshelf I'd installed myself 3 summers ago. Every inch of this place was mine. The exposed brick I'd cleaned and sealed. The hardwood floors I'd refinished on my hands and knees. The kitchen I'd gutted and rebuilt with my own 2 hands and a YouTube education. Pearl, Mom's voice echoed down the stairs. Family meeting in 5 minutes. I knew what this was about. I'd known since Nora got married last month and started making comments about needing more space and how cramped their apartment was. I'd seen the way Mom's eyes lit up whenever Nora mentioned wanting to move back home. I climbed the stairs to the main floor, each step feeling heavier than the last. The living room was set up like a tribunal. Mom sat in her favorite armchair, Dad on the couch beside her, and Nora perched on the ottoman like she owned the place. Which, apparently, she was about to. "Sit down, honey," Mom said, patting the empty spot on the couch. "I'll stand." Mom's smile tightened. "Pearl, we've been talking, and we've made a decision about the house." "What kind of decision?" Dad cleared his throat. "Well, with Nora married now, and Diego looking for a place to settle down, we're giving them the house," Mom interrupted. "The whole house." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "It makes sense," Nora said, examining her manicured nails. "Diego and I need the space for when we start having kids. And you're 32, Pearl. Don't you think it's time you got your own place?" "I have my own place, downstairs, that I've been paying rent for 10 years. "Oh, sweetie," Mom said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "That's not really your own place. That's just borrowing space." "Borrowing space?" My voice cracked. "I've put $15,000 into renovating that basement. I've been paying you $800 a month in rent." "And we appreciate that," Dad said. "But this is what's best for the family." "Best for Nora, you mean?" Nora smiled. "Don't be bitter, Pearl. It doesn't suit you." I looked around the room at these people who were supposed to love me. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad was studying his hands. Nora looked like she'd just won the lottery. "When do I have to be out?" "End of the month," Mom said. "That gives you 3 weeks to find something." 3 weeks, after 10 years of calling this place home. "We'll help you look for apartments," Dad offered weakly. "Don't bother." I turned to leave, but Nora's voice stopped me. "Oh, and Pearl, don't take any of the appliances downstairs. Diego's going to need them for his home office setup." I spun around. "Those are my appliances. I bought them." "Technically, anything attached to the house stays with the house," Mom said. "That's just how these things work. Besides," Nora added, "where you're going, you probably won't need a full-size washer and dryer anyway." The casual cruelty in her voice was nothing new. This was Nora at 16, telling me boys didn't like girls who were too smart. This was Nora at 22, announcing her engagement at my birthday dinner. This was Nora at 29, taking the last thing I had left. "Fine," I said. "I'll be out by the end of the month." I walked back downstairs on shaking legs, my sanctuary suddenly feeling like a tomb. The walls I'd painted, the floors I'd refinished, The life I'd built. All of it was about to become Nora's gym equipment storage. I sat on my couch and stared at the crumpled pink note on the floor. 10 years of rent payments, 10 years of being the good daughter, 10 years of watching Nora get everything handed to her while I worked for scraps. But I wasn't going to cry. Not where they could hear me. I had 3 weeks to figure out my next move, and I was going to make them count. The next morning, I started packing. Every box I filled felt like burying a piece of myself. I was wrapping my grandmother's china when Mom appeared at the bottom of the stairs, coffee mug in hand. "Oh, good. You're getting started," she said, surveying the chaos. "I brought you some boxes from the garage." "Thanks." I didn't look up from the newspaper I was wrapping around a teacup. "Pearl, I know you're upset, but this really is for the best. Nora and Diego need stability right now." I set down the teacup and stared at her. "What about my stability? What about the 10 years I've lived here?" "You're being dramatic." "Am I?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're kicking out one daughter to make room for the other." Mom's face hardened. "We're not kicking you out. We're helping you grow up. By taking my home. This was never your home, Pearl. This is our house. We let you stay here as a favor." The words hit like a slap. "A favor? I've been paying rent. Barely enough to cover utilities. $800 a month is barely enough? For a basement apartment in this neighborhood? Please." I stood up, my hands shaking. "Get out." "Excuse me?" "Get out of my apartment. Now." Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "This is still my house, young lady. Then I guess we'll see how long that lasts." She stomped back upstairs, and I heard her complaining to Dad about my attitude. I kept packing, each item a small act of rebellion. By afternoon, I needed more boxes. The attic was the only place I hadn't checked, so I climbed the narrow stairs to the dusty space above the main floor. The attic was a graveyard of family history. Christmas decorations, old furniture, boxes labeled in Mom's careful handwriting. I found a stack of empty boxes behind a trunk I'd never seen before. The trunk was old, made of dark wood with brass corners. A small brass nameplate read, "Zlata Bennett, Grandma Zlata, Dad's mother, who died when I was 12. She'd lived in this house her whole adult life, raised Dad here after Grandpa died young." I ran my fingers over the nameplate. Grandma Zlata had always been kind to me. She'd taught me to bake bread, let me help in her garden, told me stories about the old country. She died in this house, in the bedroom that was now Mom and Dad's. The trunk wasn't locked. Inside, I found photo albums, letters, and a manila envelope marked "Important Documents" in Grandma's spidery handwriting. I opened the envelope and pulled out a thick stack of papers. Legal documents, by the look of them. A deed. A will. My hands started shaking as I read the first page. "Last Will and Testament of Zlata Bennett." I flipped through the pages, my heart pounding. Legal language was hard to follow, but some things were crystal clear. I leave my house at 1247 Maple Street to my son Samuel Bennett and my granddaughter Pearl Bennett, to be held in equal shares. Equal shares. 50-50. I read it again. And again. "Pearl!" Dad's voice echoed up from downstairs. "What are you doing up there?" I shoved the papers back in the envelope and closed the trunk. "Looking for boxes." "Well, hurry up. Dinner's ready." I climbed down the attic stairs on unsteady legs, the envelope clutched against my chest. At dinner, I sat across from my parents and sister, watching them discuss paint colors for Nora's house, while my mind raced. "I think sage green for the kitchen," Nora was saying. "Very trendy right now." "That sounds lovely, honey," Mom said. "What do you think, Dad?" Nora asked. "You're being awfully quiet." Dad looked up from his meatloaf. "Sorry, just thinking about work stuff." "Well, stop thinking about work and start thinking about your daughter's new home," Mom scolded. I excused myself early and went back to my room, spreading the will out on my bed. I read every word, twice. The date was clear. 3 years before Grandma died. The signatures were witnessed and notarized. According to this document, my parents had never legally owned this house. They'd been living here, managing it, but ownership had passed to Dad and me jointly when Grandma died, which meant they couldn't give it to Nora, which meant they'd been lying to me for 20 years. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Will McCoy. We'd gone to high school together, and I'd heard through mutual friends that he'd become a lawyer. Will, it's Pearl Bennett. I know it's late, but I need a favor. A big one. Will met me at a coffee shop the next morning, his lawyer briefcase looking out of place next to the hipster crowd. I'd barely slept, the will burning a hole in my backpack all night. Pearl, you look terrible, he said, sliding into the booth across from me. Thanks. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear. Sorry, I just mean, you sounded pretty shaken up on the phone. He pulled out a legal pad. So what's this about? You said something about your parents and a house? I slid the envelope across the table. Read this. Will opened it and started scanning the documents. His eyebrows climbed higher with each page. Holy shit. Language counselor. Pearl, where did you find this? My grandmother's trunk in the attic. My parents don't know I have it. Will set the papers down and stared at me. Do you understand what this means? That my parents have been lying to me my entire life? That's the least of it. He tapped the deed. According to this, you own half of that house. You've owned half of it since your grandmother died. But my parents have been living there, making decisions about it, as your co-owners' representatives, basically. Your dad inherited his half, but your half should have been transferred to you when you turned 18. Will flipped through more pages. Jesus, Pearl. They've been collecting rent from you for property you already own. My coffee cup rattled against the saucer as I set it down. So when they told Nora she could have the house, they can't legally do that, not without your consent. And if they've already started any paperwork to transfer ownership, Will whistled low. That could be fraud. Fraud. Transferring property they don't fully own without the co-owner's knowledge or consent? Yeah, that's fraud. I leaned back in the booth, my head spinning. What are my options? Well, you could confront them privately. Demand they honor the will and recognize your ownership. And if they refuse, then you take them to court. Force the sale of the house and take your half of the proceeds. Or buy out their half and keep the whole thing. Or, Will grinned, and I remembered why we'd been friends in high school. He'd always had a mischievous streak. Or you could make this very public and very embarrassing for them. What do you mean? I mean, if they're planning some big celebration of giving the house to Nora, you could show up with these documents and a few witnesses. Make it clear that they've been lying to everyone. That sounds like revenge. That sounds like justice. I thought about Nora's smug face, Mom's dismissive tone, Dad's weak excuses. What would that look like exactly? Well, hypothetically, if someone were having a party to celebrate their new house, and the actual owner showed up with legal documents proving the transfer was invalid, Will shrugged. That would be pretty awkward for everyone involved. Hypothetically, he leaned forward. Pearl, I have to ask, are you sure you want to go nuclear on this? Because once you reveal these documents, there's no going back. Your relationship with your parents will never be the same. I thought about the pink note, about Mom calling my home a favor, about 20 years of watching Nora get everything while I got scraps. What relationship? They were willing to throw me out on the street for her? Fair point. Will gathered up the papers. I'll need to verify these documents, make sure they're legitimate and properly filed. But assuming they are, how long will that take? A few days? Maybe a week? Why? Because I just remembered something. Nora's planning a housewarming party. Will's grin widened. When? 2 weeks from Saturday. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare everything properly. He slid the papers back into the envelope. Pearl, I have to warn you. This is going to get messy. Your parents might try to claim they didn't know about the will, or that they were protecting your interests somehow. Let them try. And Nora's going to be furious. She's probably already making plans, maybe even spending money on renovations. Good. Will studied my face. You're really sure about this? I thought about all the times I'd bitten my tongue, all the times I'd been the good daughter, the responsible one, the one who didn't make waves. I thought about 10 years of rent payments for a house I already owned. I'm sure. All right then. Will stood up and shook my hand. Consider me officially retained. And Pearl? Yeah. This is going to be fun. As he walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just anger, not just hurt, but power. For the first time in my life, I held all the cards, and I was going to play them perfectly. While Will worked on verifying the documents, I had to keep up appearances. That meant apartment hunting like my life depended on it. The first place I looked at was a studio above a pizza shop. The landlord, a guy named Tony with sauce stains on his shirt, showed me around the 30-square-foot space. Cozy, right? He said, opening a closet that barely fit a vacuum cleaner. Perfect for a single gal. Where's the kitchen? Right there. He pointed to a hot plate sitting on a card table. Very efficient. And the bathroom? Shared. Down the hall. Only 3 other tenants, so you'll hardly wait. The rent was $1,200 a month. For a closet with a hot plate. I spent the next week looking at overpriced dumps, each one worse than the last. A basement apartment that flooded only during heavy rain. A converted garage with no insulation. A room in someone's house where the landlord wanted to interview me over dinner. By Friday, I was exhausted and discouraged. I stopped at Cafe Luna for coffee and found myself face to face with Mom at the counter. Pearl, how's the apartment hunting going? Great, I lied. Lots of options. I'm so glad. I was worried you might have trouble finding something in your price range. The barista handed Mom her latte, and she turned to face me fully. You know, I ran into Mrs. Henderson yesterday. She mentioned her son has a nice apartment complex across town. Very affordable. Across town? Well, yes. You can't expect to stay in this neighborhood. Property values have gone up so much. I stared at her. This is my neighborhood, Mom. I've lived here for 10 years. Oh, honey, you've lived in our basement for 10 years. That's different. How is that different? Mom's smile tightened. Don't be difficult, Pearl. Change is good for you. You'll see. She walked away before I could respond, leaving me standing at the counter with my hands shaking. Rough day? The barista asked. You could say that. I took my coffee to a corner table and pulled out my phone. I had 3 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. When I called back, a woman answered. Pearl, this is Maggie, your Aunt Maggie. I nearly dropped the phone. Aunt Maggie was Mom's older sister, but they'd been estranged for years. Some family drama I'd never fully understood. Aunt Maggie? How did you get my number? I have my ways. Listen, can we meet? I heard about what's happening with the house. You heard? Small town, honey. Word travels, especially when it's this juicy. We agreed to meet at a diner on the other side of town. Maggie was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her back to the wall. She looked like an older, sharper version of Mom, with silver hair and knowing eyes. You look just like your grandmother, she said as I sat down. Zlata would be proud of you. Proud of me for what? For not taking their bullshit lying down. I blinked. I don't know what you mean. Maggie laughed. Oh, honey, you think I don't know what you found in that attic? How could you possibly? Because I helped Zlata write that will. I was one of the witnesses. The diner suddenly felt too small. You knew. All this time, you knew I owned half the house? I knew. And I've been waiting 20 years for someone to find those documents. Why didn't you say anything? Maggie stirred her coffee slowly. Because your parents made it very clear that I wasn't welcome in their lives. And because I figured if Slata wanted you to have those papers, you'd find them when you needed them most. But you could have told me. And what would you have done at 12? At 18? At 25? Maggie leaned forward. You weren't ready to fight them until now. She was right. Even a year ago, I would have confronted them privately, let them talk me out of it somehow. So what happens now? I asked. Now you decide what kind of person you want to be. The kind who lets people walk all over her, or the kind who stands up for herself. It's not that simple, isn't it? Maggie pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. This is your cousin Jake's wedding last month. See who's not in the family photos? I looked at the screen. Mom, Dad, and Nora were all there, smiling and laughing. I wasn't. They didn't invite me. They told everyone you were too busy with work to come. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. They lied. They've been lying about a lot of things for a long time, Pearl. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I thought about the will hidden in my apartment, about Will's promise to help, about Nora's upcoming party. I'm going to make them pay. Maggie smiled. Good. And when you do, I'll be right there beside you. Why would you do that? Because family isn't about blood, honey. It's about loyalty. And they stopped being loyal to you a long time ago. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday, delivered by hand to my basement door. Thick cardstock, gold embossing, the works. You're invited to celebrate Nora and Diego's new beginning. Join us for a housewarming party at their beautiful new home. Saturday, October 14th, 7 p.m. Cocktails, dinner, and dancing. RSVP by October 10th. Their beautiful new home. My house. I was still staring at the invitation when my phone rang. Will. Good news and bad news, he said without preamble. Give me the good news first. The will is legitimate, filed properly, witnessed correctly, and never contested. You legally own 50% of that house. And the bad news? Your parents took out a second mortgage 3 months ago. $60,000. I sat down hard on my couch. What? I pulled the property records. They borrowed against the house's equity. Want to guess what they used as collateral? The full value of the house. Bingo. Which means they committed fraud by using your half as collateral without your knowledge or consent. My hands started shaking. How much trouble are they in? Legally? A lot. Financially? Even more. If this comes out, the bank could demand immediate repayment of the entire loan. What did they use the money for? I'm still digging, but I have a theory. Want to hear it? Shoot. I think they gave it to Nora and Diego. Down payment on something, maybe. Or just a wedding gift. I stared at the invitation in my lap. They mortgaged my house to give my sister money. That's what it looks like. Will? I want to destroy them. I was hoping you'd say that. Because I have an idea. We spent the next hour planning. Will would prepare copies of all the documents, including the mortgage fraud evidence. I would RSVP to the party and bring a special gift for the happy couple. You sure you want to do this publicly? Will asked. We could handle this quietly, through the courts. No. They humiliated me. Now it's their turn. After we hung up, I called the number on the invitation. Nora speaking. It's Pearl. I got your invitation. Oh, I wasn't sure you'd want to come. I know this might be difficult for you. Actually, I'm excited to celebrate your new beginning. Really? Nora sounded suspicious. You're not going to make this weird, are you? Of course not. I'm bringing a gift. You don't have to. I insist. It's something very special. Something that belongs to the house. Oh, that's so sweet. What is it? It's a surprise. After I hung up, I sat in my basement apartment, looking around at everything I'd built. The custom shelving, the refinished floors, the kitchen I'd designed myself. In a week, I'd either own half of this house legally or I'd be homeless. But at least I'd go down swinging. The next few days crawled by. I kept packing, kept pretending to look for apartments, kept playing the role of the defeated daughter. Mom brought me more boxes and made comments about fresh starts. Dad avoided me entirely. Nora stopped by twice to gloat about her party preparations. "We're having it catered," she said, perched on my couch like she owned it. Diego insisted on the good champagne, nothing but the best for our new home. "Sounds expensive." "Oh, we can afford it. Mom and Dad have been so generous." I bet they had. Friday afternoon, I was carrying boxes to my car when I ran into Diego in the driveway. He was unloading shopping bags from his BMW. "Pearl, how's the move going?" "Great. Really excited for your party tomorrow." "Thanks for being so cool about all this. I know it can't be easy, giving up your place. Actually, it's perfect timing." Diego set down his bags. "Really? You seem to be handling this better than I expected." "What do you mean?" "Well, Nora was worried you might be bitter about the house situation, but you're being really mature about it." "Why would I be bitter? Come on, Pearl. You've lived here for years, and now we're taking over." "I'd be pissed if I were you." I smiled. "Diego, can I tell you something?" "Sure." "Tomorrow's going to be a night to remember." "I hope so. We've put a lot of work into planning this party." "Oh, I'm sure you have. And I promise you, nobody will ever forget it." Diego laughed. "You're being mysterious. I like it. Just wait until you see my gift." "What is it?" "Something that's going to change everything." I left him standing in the driveway, looking confused. Let him wonder. In 24 hours, he'd understand exactly what I meant. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about all the times I'd been overlooked, dismissed, pushed aside. All the times Nora had gotten what she wanted while I got the scraps. Tomorrow, that would all change. Tomorrow, I was going to give them a gift they'd never forget. I spent Saturday afternoon getting ready like I was preparing for battle. Black dress, red lipstick, and a manila envelope that would change everything. Will picked me up at 6:30, looking sharp in his best suit. "You ready for this?" he asked as we pulled into the driveway. "I've been ready for 20 years. The house was transformed. String lights hung from every tree, valet parking attendants directed traffic, and a catering truck sat in the back alley. Through the windows, I could see people in cocktail attire mingling in what used to be my living space. "Jesus," Will muttered. "They really went all out. With my money." We walked up the front steps together. A young woman with a clipboard greeted us at the door. "Names?" "Pearl and Will. We're on the list." She checked us off and handed us champagne flutes. "The hosts are in the main living area. Enjoy the party." I stepped into my childhood home and barely recognized it. The furniture had been rearranged, fresh flowers filled every corner, and a bartender was mixing drinks in the kitchen. At least 40 people milled around, all dressed to impress. "Pearl!" Mom appeared at my elbow, looking radiant in a blue cocktail dress. "You came? And you look lovely." "Thanks, Mom. Great party. Isn't it wonderful? Nora has such good taste." Mom lowered her voice. "I'm so proud of you for being mature about all this." "Where's the guest of honor?" "Oh, she's holding court by the fireplace. Come on, let me introduce you to some people." Mom dragged me through the crowd, introducing me as Pearl, our older daughter, to neighbors and family friends. Everyone was polite but distant, like I was already a stranger. "And this is Christopher," Mom said, stopping in front of a tall man with perfectly styled hair. "He helped Nora plan the whole party." Christopher shook my hand. "You must be so excited for your sister. What a gorgeous house." "It really is," I agreed. "Very expensive, I imagine?" "Oh, completely worth it, though. Nora was telling me about all the renovations they're planning. The basement alone is going to cost $30,000. $30,000? For the home gym conversion. Top-of-the-line equipment, mirrors, the works. They've already put down deposits with contractors. I felt Will tense beside me. That's ambitious. Well, when you can afford the best, why settle? Christopher laughed. Diego's business is doing so well, and with the family help. Family help? I asked. The down payment gift from her parents. $60,000. Can you imagine? Will and I exchanged glances. There it was. Confirmation. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to find the ladies' room." I pushed through the crowd toward the back of the house, Will following. In the hallway, I grabbed his arm. "Did you hear that?" Every word. They used the mortgage money as a gift to Nora and Diego. And now they're spending even more money they don't have. Pearl, this is worse than we thought. If they've already committed to contractors— Pearl! Nora's voice cut through the noise. She appeared in the hallway, glowing in a white cocktail dress. "There you are. I was wondering when you'd show up. Wouldn't miss it for the world. You look nice." Nora's eyes swept over my outfit with barely concealed judgment. "Very understated? Thanks. You look expensive." Nora laughed. "Diego spoils me. Come on, you have to see what we've done with the place." She led us on a tour, pointing out every change they'd made. New paint in the living room, different furniture arrangement, plans for a complete kitchen renovation. And downstairs, Nora said as we descended to my former home, "This is going to be amazing. We're tearing out all these walls to make one big open space." I looked around my basement apartment. My built-in bookshelves, my custom kitchen, my refinished floors. All of it marked for destruction. "What about the work that's already been done?" Will asked. "Oh, that old stuff? It's not really our style. We want something more modern." "That old stuff cost $15,000, I said quietly. "Well, that's the risk you take when you improve someone else's property," Nora said with a shrug. "Come on, let's go back upstairs. I want to show you the gift table." We climbed back to the main floor, where the party was in full swing. Dad was telling stories to a group of neighbors. Mom was directing the caterers. Everyone looked happy and successful, and completely oblivious to what was coming. "Oh," Nora clapped her hands. "I almost forgot. You said you brought a gift?" "I did." I held up the manila envelope. "Something very special." "What is it?" "Open it and see." Nora reached for the envelope, but I pulled it back. "Actually, I think this is something everyone should see. Mind if I make a little speech?" "A speech?" Nora looked uncertain. "I don't know if—" "Please, I insist. After all, this is such a special occasion." Before she could protest, I walked to the center of the room and tapped my champagne glass with a fork. "Excuse me, everyone. Could I have your attention?" The room gradually quieted as 40 pairs of eyes turned toward me. Nora looked nervous. Mom had gone pale. Dad was frozen with his drink halfway to his mouth. "Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate Nora and Diego's new home," I began, my voice carrying clearly across the room. As Nora's sister, I wanted to give her something truly special, something that really belongs to this house. "Pearl," Mom said sharply, "maybe we should—" "Let me finish, Mom." I smiled at the crowd. "You see, I've been living in the basement of this house for 10 years, paying rent, making improvements, thinking of it as my home. But recently, I discovered something fascinating about this property." Nora stepped forward. "Pearl, what are you doing?" "I'm giving you your housewarming gift." I held up the manila envelope. "Inside here are some documents I found in Grandma Zlata's trunk. Very interesting documents." The room was dead silent now. Will moved closer, positioning himself where he could see everyone's reactions. "It turns out," I continued, "that when Grandma Zlata died 20 years ago, she left this house to 2 people. Not just to Dad, like everyone thought. Pearl, stop, Dad said, his voice barely above a whisper. She left it to Dad, and to me. 50-50. Equal shares. I opened the envelope and pulled out the will. Would you like me to read the relevant section? That's impossible, Nora said, but her voice cracked. I leave my house at 1247 Maple Street to my son Samuel and my granddaughter Pearl to be held in equal shares. I looked up at the stunned faces around me. Witnessed, notarized, and legally binding. Christopher, Nora's party planner friend, broke the silence. Wait, what does that mean exactly? It means, Will stepped forward, that Pearl has owned half of this house for 20 years, and that any transfer of ownership without her consent would be illegal. Mom grabbed Dad's arm. Samuel, tell them this isn't true. Dad's face had gone gray. We didn't know. You didn't know? I laughed, and it came out sharp and bitter. You lived in this house with Grandma for 30 years. You handled her affairs when she died. You didn't know she left me half of it? We thought... Dad started, then stopped. You thought what? That you could just ignore it? Hope I never found out? Nora snatched the will from my hands, scanning it desperately. This has to be fake. You made this up. Ask Aunt Maggie, I said. She was one of the witnesses. On cue, Maggie stepped out from behind a group of neighbors. Hello, Paula, Samuel. Lovely party. Mom's face went white. Maggie, what are you doing here? Pearl invited me. And yes, before you ask, I witnessed Zlata's will. I've been wondering for 20 years when someone would finally find it. The crowd was murmuring now, people whispering to each other, trying to understand what was happening. But even if this is real, Nora said desperately, it doesn't matter now. The house has been transferred to me. It's done. Actually, Will said, pulling out another document, that's where things get really interesting. Because your parents took out a $60,000 mortgage on this house 3 months ago, using Pearl's half as collateral, without her knowledge or consent. That's fraud, someone in the crowd said. Yes, it is, Will agreed, and I believe they used that money as a gift to you and Diego. Diego, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. Wait, what? The down payment money came from a mortgage? Apparently so, I said, which means you've been spending money that was essentially stolen from me. This is insane, Nora said, her voice rising. You can't just show up and destroy everything. I'm not destroying anything, Nora. I'm just claiming what's legally mine. But we've already made commitments. We have contractors starting work next week on renovations that will cost $30,000, Christopher added helpfully. Money they don't actually have. The room erupted in whispers. I could hear fragments of conversation. Fraud, mortgage, sisters, scandal. Mom suddenly swayed on her feet. I need to sit down. Mom? Nora rushed to her side as Mom collapsed into a chair, her face pale and sweaty. Someone get her some water, Dad said, finally finding his voice. But the damage was done. The party guests were staring at my family like we were a reality TV show. Some were already pulling out their phones, probably texting friends about the drama they were witnessing. So what happens now? Diego asked, his voice hollow. Will stepped forward. Now we sort out the legal mess. The mortgage will need to be addressed, the fraudulent transfer reversed, and the property returned to its rightful owners. Rightful owners? Nora's voice was shrill. This is my house. No, I said quietly. It's not. It never was. I looked around the room at the faces of family friends and neighbors, all of them witnessing the destruction of the Bennett family facade. Thank you all for coming tonight, I said. I think this party is over. People began filing out, whispering among themselves. The caterers started packing up. Within minutes, the house that had been full of celebration was nearly empty. Only my family remained, staring at each other across the wreckage of 20 years of lies. The house felt like a tomb after the last guest left. Mom sat slumped in her chair, Dad paced by the window, and Nora stood in the middle of the room, holding the will like it might burst into flames. "We need to talk," I said. "Talk?" Nora's voice cracked. "You just humiliated us in front of everyone we know." "You humiliated yourselves. I just told the truth." Diego sat heavily on the couch. "The down payment money, it's already spent. We can't pay it back." "That's not my problem," I said. "It is if you want to keep this family together," Mom said weakly. I stared at her. "Keep this family together? You threw me out of my own house. We didn't know." "Stop lying," the words exploded out of me. "You knew exactly what you were doing. You've known for 20 years that I owned half this house, and you decided to steal it from me." Dad finally stopped pacing. "Pearl, we can work this out. We can—" "No." I held up my hand. "We're past that. Will, what are my legal options?" Will consulted his notes. "The mortgage company will demand immediate repayment once they learn about the fraud. If your parents can't pay, they'll foreclose. The house will be sold, and Pearl will get her 50% of whatever's left after the mortgage is satisfied." "How much would that be?" Diego asked. "The house is worth about $300,000. Minus the $60,000 mortgage, that leaves $240,000. Pearl would get half of that." $120,000, I said, plus 10 years of rent payments they took from me illegally. "We can't afford that," Dad said quietly. "Then you'll lose the house." Nora started crying. "This is my home. We just got married. We had plans." "I had plans too. For 10 years, I had plans." "But you're destroying everything." "I'm taking what's mine." Maggie, who had been quietly observing from the doorway, stepped forward. "Actually, there might be another option." Everyone turned to look at her. "Pearl could buy out your parents half of the house. Take full ownership." "With what money?" Mom asked. "With the mortgage money they stole from her," Maggie said. "Plus damages. Plus interest. I'd say they owe her about $80,000. She could use that as a down payment and get her own mortgage for the rest." I looked around the room at my family. "You mean I could own the whole house?" "If you wanted it," Will said. "Though you'd have to evict your current tenants." "Current tenants?" "Your parents. They'd have to move out." The silence stretched on. Mom was still crying quietly. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past hour. Nora clutched Diego's hand like it was a lifeline. "There's one more thing," I said. "The basement renovations. I want compensation for everything I put into that space." "Pearl, please," Dad said. "We're family." "Are we?" "Because family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie for 20 years. Family doesn't throw each other out on the street." "We made mistakes," Mom whispered. "You made choices, and now you get to live with the consequences." I turned to Will. "Draw up the papers. I want full ownership of the house, and I want them out by the end of the month." "Pearl, no," Nora begged. "Where will they go?" "I don't know. Maybe they can find a nice basement apartment somewhere. I hear those are really affordable." The cruelty in my own voice surprised me, but I didn't take it back. "You have 30 days, I said. "After that, you're trespassing." I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "Oh, and Nora? You might want to cancel those contractor appointments. I'm keeping the basement exactly the way it is." "Pearl, wait," Dad called out. But I was already walking out the front door, Will beside me. "You okay?" he asked as we got in his car. "I will be." "Any regrets?" I looked back at the house, my house now, with its string lights still twinkling and the remnants of Nora's party scattered across the lawn. "Ask me in a month." Will started the engine. "Where to?" "Home," I said. "Take me home." As we drove away, I could see my family through the living room window, still sitting in the wreckage of their lies. They looked small and broken and utterly defeated. I should have felt sorry for them. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt free. Sometimes, when you demand what you're owed, you lose much more than what you gain. But at least it's finally yours.